2010 was a year that wrote a special page in the racing record books. It was a year filled with moments of outrageous fortune, setting the stage for the most dramatic stretch runs in memory, as series after series hailed their champions, many of whom came from behind in the last race of the year to claim the title. But now a new year is dawning, a palette as pristine as a shoreline scoured by the eternal rhythm of the ocean waves. And that new season begins where it has for the last half-century, not far from the most famous shores in racing, in a place synonymous with speed around the world, Daytona.
This is a huge event, the Rolex 24.
It's what kicks off the new year.
It's a world-class field.
Our Super Bowl is the Rolex 24 Hour.
For nearly 50 years, an array of stars from every major form of motorsport have come to Daytona International Speedway to strap into a sports car and measure themselves against the great track's greatest challenge. A race that demands everything car, driver, and team can give for 24 exhausting hours. This is the Rolex 24 at Daytona. The list of those who have met the challenge and won the Rolex 24 is a roll call of racing history.
Every race here is got a memory to it.
My dad won this race before, and certainly I want to do the same.
And so is the list of those who have won the great race and yet returned today to try again.
Last 2 years in a row we've won this race.
It's always fun to come to the Rolex 24.
Then there are the stars who have yet to join that elite company of Rolex winners.
This is a race that every driver wants to win.
24-hour racing is all about getting to the end.
We've just learned so much. I think we're ready to finally win it.
Qualifying is over. The preparations are complete. Ahead lie 24 hours of flat-out racing amid a host of challenges.
24 perfect driver changes.
It is the epitome of teamwork.
24 perfect pit stops. At the end of the day, you got to be there at the end. 24 perfect driver stints.
Weather, traffic, fatigue.
It's very demanding, you know, there's no time for relaxing.
And an unraced, unknown new surface on the famed high banks of Daytona International Speedway.
I always want to be the last one standing.
I feel pretty confident.
It's only one thing that matters, and that's winning.
So sit back and expect the unexpected. We are just moments away from the 49th Rolex 24 at Daytona. Live from Daytona International Speedway, we have beautiful 70-degree temperatures, blue skies overhead, and more in the forecast. We know the weather is slightly dodgy in other parts of the world, so sit back and get ready for Speed's exclusive and extensive coverage of the 49th annual Rolex 24 at Daytona. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Barsha in our infield studio complex. Welcome to a very special event for all of us here at Speed. The Rolex 24 will appear in 14 hours. We'll take you up to 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight and rejoin you at 9 a.m. that is, on Sunday morning to take you through to the finish and beyond, 14 hours in all. Now, there are several reasons why the Rolex 24 is one of the great events in all of motorsports. One, simply its length at 24 hours. Another, the fact that some of the greatest professionals in the sport have come here not to pick up a big check, but simply to win a Rolex wristwatch. And then there are the drivers. From NASCAR, for example, Juan Pablo Montoya has already won the Rolex twice, while Jamie McMurray and Jimmy Johnson have won the Daytona 500, and each has the opportunity to join A.J. Foyt and Mario Andretti as the only drivers to win both the 500 and the Rolex. Pit reporter Brian Till is standing by with NASCAR's only 5-time consecutive Sprint Cup champion.
Well, Bob, you know it takes passion to win championships. Jimmy Johnson certainly knows that passion, but the team he drives for knows it too. Bob Stallings, John Fogerty, Alex Gurney, they know the passion. They've won the championship in the Rolex Sports Car Series twice before. And for Jimmy, I know you've been a guy, you talk about passion, the passion for motorsports, but you also talk about you're not here to count records and race wins. I think this is one race win, though, you'd like to count. What would it mean to not only win this race, but to win it with Gainesco?
It would mean the world to me. I grew up racing a lot of different vehicles as a kid, and I don't have that opportunity now. This is my one chance to kind of branch out and have some fun, and I've learned a lot in this car with this race team that's carried over to the Cup side. I was able to win my first road course race there last year, and looking forward to a great race today and tomorrow for all 24 hours. I've had a great time with these guys, and this car's going to be great. The Chevy's fast.
And you said, Bob, he would join Mario Andretti and A.J. Foyt in the record books if he won it. Once again, Fogerty and Gurney, they'd be in the books as well.
That's right. That would be the first win for the Red Dragon crew, 2-time series champions. From the open wheel ranks, Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon, each an Indy 500 winner, while Graham Rahal hopes to repeat the feat of his father, Bobby, who won the Rolex 24 in 1981, teamed with Brian Redmond and Bob Garrettson. Let's join Chris Neville now with Dario.
Bob, 2010 was an amazing year at Chip Ganassi Racing. 2 major championships, wins at the Daytona 500, the Indianapolis 500, and the Brickyard 400. And if they can get a win here this weekend, they can also add that to that list in the last 12 months. And Dario Franchitti was a major contributor to all that. Dario, if you guys get the win, how does that measure up to everything else in 2010?
Well, it'd be the end of a great 12-month period for Chip and the team, you know, winning Daytona, winning Indianapolis, winning the Brickyard, winning the Grand Am Championship, winning the IndyCar Championship. This would be a great way to do it. We missed it last year. We had the cars to do it, but we came up a little short, so it'd be great to get back in winner's circle here.
This race is still referred to as an endurance race, but it's become a sprint race in the past couple years. Scott Dixon won, Pablo Montoya, yourself, so much experience in open wheel cars, that mentality of pushing hard every single lap. Does that give the O2 a little bit of an edge?
I'd hope so. There's some absolutely fantastic sprint, endurance drivers here, and that's going to be tough for us. But we're going to be going flat out. We tried that last year too, but the trick is keep the car in one piece, a couple hours to go, and then get down to business.
There is a very talented field, and here are some to watch. In the last 4 years at this event, the 01 has had 2 wins, 2 seconds, and finished every lap. Say no more, really. And with the defending series champs in the car, this is the one to watch. The sister Ganassi car, the 02, is the superstar car. It's the first time a defending Indy 500 and Daytona 500 winner race together as teammates at this event.
Now, can Porsche win 3 in a row? Last year's surprise win is the number 9 Action Express team return with their V8-powered machine. The team has been restructured and will be a 2-car effort for the season. The only 6-cylinder Porsche DP entry is the 2009 winning car. This year is fielded by the stellar Flying Lizard organization. On their Daytona prototype debut, they stunned the paddock here this weekend when German Jörg Bergmeister grabbed the pole.
SunTrust Racing has switched to Chevrolet power built by Earnhardt Childress engines. Regular drivers Max Angelelli, Ricky Taylor are joined by IndyCar standout Ryan Briscoe. Also Chevy power, the 99, the Red Dragon Gainesco entry driven by 2-time champ Alex Gurney. John Fogerty will be joined by 5-time consecutive NASCAR champ Jimmie Johnson.
And following those boys, this Ford Dallara with NASCAR drivers A.J. Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, and IndyCar race winner Justin Wilson could be a surprise. When track conditions are right, this car is very fast. And then there's United Autosports featuring former F1 stars Martin Brundle and Mark Blundell, as well as Americans Zach Brown and Mark Patterson. A top 5 is a possibility.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway and Speed's exclusive live coverage of the 49th annual Rolex 24 at Daytona. I'm Bob Barsha. Here's a look at a trio of stars from International Series that air here on Speed, Formula One, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Patrick Long and Johnny O'Connell, 2 Americans long affiliated with factory racing programs and class winners at Les Arts, while Martin Brundle is a veteran of 158 starts from his native Great Britain in Formula One and is now a BBC broadcast host for the sport. He's standing by with our pit reporter, Justin Bell.
Thanks, Bob. It's very exciting. As a British schoolboy, I was a huge fan of Martin Brundle, and you won in 1988. You're here 20-something years later. Did you feel when you put on the race suit it was somewhat of a time machine?
It was like a step back 20 years. I felt great, and just I feel now, actually, I've just got a little bit of nerves and a little squirt of cold adrenaline keeps coming through every so often. I'm really looking forward to this. I haven't really started a race like this for 10 years, so I think it's going to be quite a challenge in the first few laps, but I feel great.
I'm glad, and of course you're with a rookie here, Mark Blundell. Not many people can say at his mature age he could be a rookie. We're very excited to see how you get on. You've got to get in the car, I can see that, a few minutes before the start, but we keep a strong eye on these guys. They've forgotten more than most of these drivers will ever know. Good luck.
Thanks, Justin. Martin Brundle, certainly a veteran at Daytona, but not as veteran as one of these gentlemen, Hurley Haywood. Now, Patrick Dempsey, of course, a star of stage and screen, has his own 3-car race team here this weekend, such as his passion for the sport, while Jeffrey Earnhardt, just 21 years of age, is the 3rd generation of one of NASCAR's iconic families to attempt the Rolex 24. As for Hurley, at age 62, He simply never gets tired of it.
And like any good athlete, he came out of retirement. And why wouldn't he? I think the lure of driving a Brumos Porsche at Daytona was just too great for Hurley.
Very strong. He did a test at Homestead immediately on the pace, so why not come back? We're teasing him down there in the paddock. He's like our own Brett Favre.
With a field like this in GT, Hurley belongs in this field. I'm glad he's here.
Speaking of how great this GT field is, let's take a closer look. Let's just highlight a few of them for you. This team and car is a crowd favorite, and last year's emotional victory was Speed Source's second in 3 years. They're looking to make those numbers 3 in 4.
Hometown favorite, the 59 Brumos Porsche, driven by seasoned endurance vet Hurley Haywood. He'll be joined by superstars Mark Lieb, Lee Keane, and Andrew Davis.
The Porsche camps look really strong. Multiple class and overall winners TRG have a 5-car entry. Lally in the number 67 was the fastest driver in qualifying, but unfortunately the car didn't pass technical inspection and moves to the back. The good news for the team is the 66 car of Farnbacher was second quickest and will assume that pole position.
New car, new look, but the same vision for Turner Motorsport. The M6 has morphed into an M3, and this is one of the hottest looking cars in the field. A win on debut is possible.
One of the potent Chevys, a Camaro Auto House Camaro, driven by factory drivers Johnny O'Connell and Jordan Taylor, along with Bill Lester and Matthew Marsh.
Now, the strongest threat from the GM camp may be the Stevenson Motorsport number 57. The driver lineup is awesome, led by Scotsman Robin Liddell. They led at 217 laps here last year, and today they will start in the 7th spot on the grid.
That's just a small taste of this massive GT field. With more on this class, here's Brian Till. Well, it takes endurance to win here at the Rolex 24. Patrick Dempsey already knows about endurance. You flew in overnight from Sundance, and I know Dempsey Racing, Joe Foster, you, Patrick Dempsey, you guys have built this organization from scratch. It seems to get bigger and bigger, and we've seen Hollywood types in motorsports before, but the one that really showed the most dedication in my mind was Paul Newman, not only from a driving side, but a team building side. You and Joe, as you move forward with this team, do you try to emulate a guy like Paul Newman and all that he did, or do you kind of set your own chart, or chart your own course, I should say?
I mean, he's done such a great job in to follow in his footsteps. I think it's a tremendous shadow that you want to respect immensely, and I think every time we come to the track, certainly I think of him, how he would handle himself, not only in the car but out of the car. And, you know, he's a great guy to look up to, I think. And Joe has done a phenomenal job at helping guide me through this whole odyssey that we've been on for the last 5 years. And to get to this point, we were laughing at we got a new pit box. We still have our old desk that we fold out, but I couldn't have done it without his help and his support and his guidance, and Charles as well. And to see him win the championship last year, and the growth that we've had over the last 5 years, and the support of Mazda, and of course with ShareLittleSunshine.org and ModSpace, all these people, and Specialized Bicycles, all these people have allowed us the opportunity to go racing. And I was in Sundance last night, and all I could think about was getting back here and hanging out with these guys, getting back in the car.
Yeah, the dedication down here, especially for the next 24 hours, is definitely towards motorsports.
Thanks, Brian. Patrick Dempsey was at the Sundance Film Festival introducing his new independent production. It's called Flypaper. Look for it at a theater near you. Of course, he's just one of a long line of men who made their living as actors, but had a real passion and an ability to race, including Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, James Garner, and Gene Hackman. Time now to meet our Grand Marshal for the 49th Rolex 24 at Daytona. Let's go to the public address announcer.
Race fans, it is time. Please welcome back the world's fastest man, Andy Green, for those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines.
Andy Green knows something about speed, holding the world land speed record at 763 miles an hour. The engines are fired on pit road here at Daytona International Speedway. That always gets the hair up on the back of your necks. The cars all looking clean, potential winners, each and every one of them. But if history is any indication, they'll look very different in 24 hours, because this is a race that will break your heart. It didn't quite break Dan Gurney's in the inaugural 3-hour Daytona Continental. His car failed, but he was able to coax it across the line. To Crawford, with a driver lineup that included NASCAR star Tony Stewart, got within 15 minutes of the finish while leading before losing. Or in 2010, the Ganassi crew, who had led much of the race until internal problems in the gearbox crushed their hopes. but they are only a part of a long line of drivers who have come here and perhaps even dominated and not won. I'm joined now by David Hobbs. David, we just saw Dan Gurney winning that 1962 Continental. You were in that race with the likes of Sir Sterling Moss and Jimmy Clark. The racetrack has certainly changed, but in many ways this race has not.
Well, the race has changed a lot, and of course the other thing they've done here is now the place is fully floodlit at night, and it used to be very, very dark for a very long time. But that's not to say it's any less difficult, because these long endurance races, 24 hours, is still a long time for a car and a team to keep going. Of course, we've got 2, 3 and 4 and 5 drivers in the car now, and of course each driver does a shorter stint overall, but while they're driving, they drive absolutely flat out. So you've got some sprint drivers here who every stint is a sprint. With 50 cars on there with 15 seconds between the fastest and the slowest, it's pretty difficult to pick your way through that heavy traffic at that speed.
Let's take a look at the racetrack with the help of our Burger King track map. David, take us around.
Well, of course, the oval's been completely repaved, as has the entry to turn 1 and the exit of turn 6. Turn 1's where you see a lot of overtaking going on. It's much smoother. The transition is great now, so it's wider, so you'll see more overtaking and more speed. Turn 6, the same thing. As you come off 6, go back onto the banking. The new surface goes in there, and it's much smoother and faster out of there, so lap speeds are up this year.
Well, how much have things changed with the new paving?
Down the bus stop there, the chicane, as you can see, it's a left, right, left sweeper, very fast, newly resurfaced, and very quick.
According to Grand Am race boss Mark Raffhoff, the track has changed a great deal with the repaving.
We got a new racetrack here at Daytona in 2011. The entire banking, the infield entrances and exits, and the whole bus stop on the backside are brand new for the first time since 1978. It's going to make the racing here at Daytona for the 24-hour quite a bit different, because it offers places that they can race on that over the last 10-15 years were very hard to race on because of bumps and things like that. So I think we're going to see a much more competitive race. We're going to see guys trying different lines in turns 1 and 6. The bus stop will be very exciting, and I think overall the cars will be faster. I think the new paving is very exciting, and I think the guys, once they get on it, are going to be very excited about this racetrack, which is still one of the fastest road courses in the world.
On board with the 01 car as he comes off that new smooth banking into turn 1 again. All the resurfacing goes on to about this point here, so we're back on the old track, but it's still very, very quick entry. These turns haven't changed at all here. It's a nasty little left-hander, that one, down to the International Horseshoe. 180-degree right-hander. Look, even gets right over an apex, which is good, but of course, as the race goes on, a lot of sand gets kicked up on the road, makes it very difficult if you should run wide there. Down to the kink, the left-hander here, the fastest corner in the infield. About 145 miles an hour. These DP cars flat out through there, doesn't brake till after he's finished the corner into the north-west horseshoe. There's a double apex there, and as you come off there, you want to be well positioned to try and overtake people into turn 6. This is a favorite overtaking spot. Turn 6 also, the new surface there you can see makes the exit here much quicker, and they leap up onto the banking at much higher speed than they did before.
Those shots from one of 2 entries in this race from what is unquestionably the most successful team in American motorsports right now. Chip Ganassi Racing with Fila Sabatis. Chris Neville is standing by with the boss.
Like I said earlier, 2010 was a year for the history books at Chip Ganassi Racing, but there's been a lot made about this team going 3 in a row and then coming up short the past 2 years. Chip, does this team need to do anything different to find its way back to victory lane?
I don't know, Chris. I mean, I think we just have to get, do the obvious things right we always talk about, and, we have to run 24 one-hour races and get to the end of this thing. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow about noon.
Well, the Ganassi stable of drivers have had success in all forms of motorsports, Formula 1, NASCAR, IndyCar, and sports car racing. But then there's also some new faces on this grid. For more on that, Justin Bell.
That driver number 4 GT3 Porsche, Kenny Wallace, one of the most popular men to feed spans. You are here for the first time in like 17 or 18 years. You probably forgot what it was like last time. You bring together the best of entertainment and competition. What's the Rolex about in that line of work?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a serious race car driver. I'm humbled to have been offered this opportunity to drive for Kevin Buckler, TRG. It's also a fundraiser car. It's Children's Tumor Foundation. These children need our help. Go to racing4research.org. I'm really excited about this year to be driving for UNOH in a nationwide series.
Well, he's going to be up on this pit box watching the start eagerly. A beautiful blue and green Porsche. Back to you, Bob.
All right, thanks, Justin. Time to go racing. Let's go up top to Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish, and Dorsey Schrader once again.
Time to take a look at the Continental Tire race analysis. Some very important stats there on that page. Most importantly, the sunset, sunrise. They want to know just how many hours of darkness they have to do.
And that's a lot of hours of darkness, driving in the dark around this place. It'll be tough on these guys.
As David mentioned, I mean, the racetrack has really changed in complexion with the lights that were added a few years ago. Nighttime isn't really like nighttime anymore, but for the drivers, learning this new race surface, yes, it's smoother, it's better for the cars, but your reference points are gone now, Dorsey. You've got to relearn this racetrack.
Absolutely, because of the grip of the racetrack, everything has changed.
There were some key figures on that last statistic as the Subaru starting grid rolls in at the top of your screen. 755 laps completed last year. The all-time record here at the Rolex 24 is 762, so we nearly got a race record last year, and we had the first 5 laps under full course caution because of the rain a year ago here at the World Center of Racing. So we could very well be setting up for a record in 2011. Just a snapshot there of the onboards that we have for you. Dempsey Racing, TRG have 2, Speed Source have 1 with the series champion Jeff Siegel aboard the 69 there. Mitchell Motorsports, their Porsche in this quality GT field, and then that new Turner M3, the BMW M3, bottom right of your screen. The new BMW 1M pace car is leading the field. The top 9 cars were all under the qualifying lap record. And as Calvin mentioned earlier in the show, Jörg Bergmeister and the Flying Lizard Porsche, it's the only 6-cylinder Porsche in the field, just lit everybody up. He said he didn't breathe for an entire lap to get this pole position. He's got a former race winner and a champion outside him in Max Angelelli, but it will be the Flying Lizards that fly to green. The 49th Rolex 24 is underway.
Superb start there by Jörg Bergmeister. He's won this event 3 times in a GT car. Perfect start. Field looks clean, Dorsey.
Good run through turn 1. Nobody bumped at all. I didn't see any car-to-car contact. That's unusual.
AJ Armendinger got a little bit wide, a little loose in that Ford Dallara for Mike Shank Racing, but he got it back online. Pruitt pulls in there as well. Here we go with the GT start. They separate the field in the name of safety, and it's the TRG Porsche, the 66 of Dominic Farnbacher, that sees the green first.
There you see Craig Stanton slide it in the second spot. Jordan Taylor there starting on the outside of the front row, showing great maturity there as he drops a couple of positions. Remember, this is lap 1 of a 24-hour race. You have to be patient.
65 Chris Smith Porsche slots into 3, and Dominic Farnbacher runs wide at the East Horseshoe there.
Cold tires, and on that particular race track corner is the slipperiest one here. He saved it. It was a good save. Oh, we did have one go off into the barrier.
That's the Mitchell Motorsports Porsche, the 86. That is a shame there. Big hopes for this team. They were very excited to be involved in this year's Rolex 24.
We talk about experience. Randy Post behind the wheel. He's a veteran in one of these Porsches, so I wonder if he got a bump going through that corner. Meanwhile, back up front, Jörg Bergmeister with a handy lead over Max Angelelli.
Scott Pruitt has slotted into 3rd place. It could be Ryan Dial that squeezed his way up into 4th in these early stages. Settling into a rhythm.
That exit out of the bus stop used to be a huge bump there. Now it's very smooth. These guys get a good run up onto the NASCAR banking, and they'll carry more speed than they ever have before when they get down to turn 1.
Bergmeister, who used to compete in Daytona prototype, see himself as a series champion. It's on for GT honors up front between 2 rival Porsche teams, TRG and Magnus Racing. Chris Smith Racing is sitting in 3rd place.
Oh, look at that. He got sideways there. Shane Lewis coming through the bus stop chicane. That allows the 57 car there to get a run on him. But meanwhile, up front, we have 2 Porsches, 1 old version, 1 new version. Here comes the new car, the Magnus Racing 44 car. Craig Stanton, can he take the lead at the end of lap 1?
Working the high side, he'll have better run off that corner. He'll have more top speed to turn 1, but it's going to be a braking duo. He gives it up early, I think.
Dominic Farnbacher leads the way. Robin Liddell has been pushing the issue with Shane Lewis very hard. Now he tries the outside in the Camaro and takes 3rd place around the outside.
I think Farnbacher needs to dial that brake bias in a little bit, Dorsey. It looks like he's got too much front brake in the car right now. There's an adjustment you can make inside the cockpit to change the pressure between the front and rear brakes. He needs to make that adjustment. What a start from Robin Liddell. He started 7th. He's already up to 3rd, showing that GM muscle.
You know, Dominic's trying really hard to keep that lead. You don't really need to keep that lead right now. It'd be more important just to get yourself safe in a good zone and dial that brake bias, like you said, Calvin. Get the car comfortable. Right now, it doesn't look that way.
The boys from Stevenson Motorsports are determined to win this race this year. They have come so close, and they've had some very frustrating times here, but they feel that they have all the ingredients necessary to take the 57 to victory lane in 2011. Brian?
Well, they're a little bit frustrated in practice and qualifying. Robin Liddell not qualifying that 57 Camaro where he wanted to. What they determined was there was a sway bar mount in front that had come loose, giving the handling of the car a pretty bad attitude. They've gotten that sorted out. They've got a good race car. The only problem is they're not getting the fuel mileage of the Porsches and the Mazdas.
Yeah, that's a big concern. I spoke to Mike Johnson this morning, and he said, boy, we're really eating the fuel around here, about 26 laps on a run. He said the Mazdas and the Porsches are probably going to get 28 to 30. He said it's only a factor near the end of the race. Farnbacher's car is not hooked up, Dorsey. He needs to back it off a little bit and not throw it at the fence, I feel.
I totally agree with you, Calvin. I back down, get away from that intense battle and just work on my car a little bit. Look at the width of that Camaro when you see that frontal shot against those Porsches, and you wonder why it doesn't get fuel mileage.
It's got some
real tape there.
Yeah.
I saw it too, yeah. Off of somebody else's car down in the radiator.
He's got
there
the draft. He's got the draft on Craig Stanton. Switches back to the inside. Robin Liddell looking to get up there, and Stanton goes right around the outside of Dominic Farnbacher.
Well, he would have seen that Dominic Farnbacher was having some brake issues. He made that commitment, gets in really deep. Now he's wide of the apex. Both of them, there you go. Liddell is through to the lead. Both the Porsches run wide.
Just a little too much speed, Calvin, at that apex, and he couldn't get that car to turn down. Left the inside open. Robin said, I'll take that.
Is this a 24-hour race?
Well, we said it's a sprint race nowadays, and they're showing it.
This is good, hard GT racing early on, Chris.
Well, as you guys are talking about making some brake adjustments for Dominic Farnbacher, talking to these teams before the race, they were talking about adjustability throughout this race because we had the test days in early January. They were cold. Earlier this week, we were here. It was a couple nice days in the upper 60s, but today it's in the upper 70s. Track temperature, 95 degrees right now. So these teams saying it's a lot warmer than what we've been dealing with. So we may have to make sure these cars are adjustable both today and tomorrow afternoon.
We've only just got going, and we're going to come down to a much slower pace. First full course yellow. We're hearing there is debris on the racing surface, debris on the track that brings out this very first full course yellow.
Actually saw something fly off one of the cars in a pack back there. Couldn't tell what it was, if they ran over something or if something on the car.
Looked like a big strip of duct tape, possibly. A lot of duct tape is used on these cars. Maybe someone had the radiators taped up a little bit. Certainly the potential of these cars to run in like near 100-degree temperatures, even though we're warm in the 70s here. Some of these radiators and oil coolers will need to be taped up, and there we may see the culprit there.
While we are under caution, I'd like to tell you about the NASCAR Toyota All-Star Showdown tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, live here on Speed. They call it the Daytona 500 of short track racing, where the next generation of NASCAR superstars square off. It is the NASCAR Toyota All-Star Showdown live from Irwindale tonight at 10 Eastern. We welcome you back to the Rolex 24 at Daytona and give you a little snapshot of the field here, starting with Daytona prototypes on the left-hand side. It's great that we've got back up to 18 DPs for this race. Riley Chassis is the dominant manufacturer. Good spread of engine manufacturers there. And you've got Coyote Chassis, Lola and Dallara. On the right-hand side of your screen, the spread of GT cars. The most popular make there right at the bottom, the Porsche GT3 of various generations. We've got 5 2011 GT3 Cup cars running here in the Rolex 24. And then just one M3, one M6, but it's a good variety across the field, boys.
Yeah, it really is. It's great to see. And, you know, we talk about Porsche winning 3 in a row. Potentially here is going to be awfully tough because there's so much tough competition.
You know, one thing about this racetrack, too, being paved, is it's brought the parity much closer. Take a look here.
This is on board with Jan Halen in the Star Works Ford.
Big difference here when you go down into turn 1. They're paved down into this transition into the infield. It's a lot smoother here, and that's what allows these guys to go 3 abreast. Look at that. That is hairy stuff. Turn 1 of a 24-hour race.
We had a race yesterday, Calvin, and that gray area off to the right, a couple guys tried to make it 4 wide, went over there and paid the big consequence by going straight on. So as long as you're on the new pavement, you got that grip, but that gray stuff is slippery.
Look at Negri all the way around the outside of the hairpin. They're making some moves in the 60 machine.
Just an update us on these cars coming in early.
Well, that's what it's all about right now, Lee, is, you know, contingency plans for these teams, even in the first few laps. For a sports car team, they have to plan for every eventuality, and that is what happens if you have a yellow in the first 4 or 5 laps of a race. The level 5 team came in both their Daytona prototypes to just literally put a splash of fuel in. You may say to yourself, well, that's silly, they've probably got 9/10 of a tank left. Well, sometimes it's not a bad thing to get out of sequence. And they did it as a pair, which means that is definitely their intention, to go out of sequence with the rest of the pit lane, so maybe they stay out of trouble. Of course, the thing is, if there's another yellow in the next 40 minutes, that plan just gets unwound. But you're already seeing, Dorsey, you remember when you're in the car and you think you're staying out and suddenly the team call you in, it's quite confusing as a driver, but you know that the guys on the pit box have all the information to hand, all that data literally at their fingertips, and so you're going to see some various strategies coming into play.
Riding on board the SunTrust car, the number 10, Max Angelelli at the keyboard, running in the top 5. Notice the lap times across the top of your screen. Pole sitter Jörg Bergmeister continues to lead that Porsche-powered Riley, but the laps, David, are close to qualifying times. Are you surprised they're going so quickly?
No, I'm not, Bob. It's, for instance, right where we are now on the banking. Before, it was very bumpy here. Now, because of the brand new surface, you don't have those bumps. It used to be not only uncomfortable, but they were very tough on the cars, so they're all running their cars a little bit lower. And of course that helps them on the infield, so they're quicker through the infield, although the infield track hasn't changed. So the lap speeds are up this year, and as I said at the top of the show here, and as Dorsey said, this is just going to be a mass of sprint races. Every one of these drivers that gets in is going to be able to drive flat out for the entire race, but there is a lot of traffic out there. We saw Randy Post be pushed off. We're not quite sure what happened to him at the International Horseshoe on lap 1. Very un-Randy Post-like. He's one of the most experienced drivers out there in a GT car. But these guys, I'm surprised they're not actually a bit closer together, actually making more of a race of it, but they're all humming along, as you say, at very, very fast pace. Look at that, 1:46.6 for Ryan Dial in the 8 car. I mean, boy, oh boy, those are quick laps. If they can keep that up for 24 hours, you're going to see the distance record absolutely smashed.
The only real blip on the radar was Randy Post on that opening lap. We can show you the onboard view. It'll take you inside the Mitcham Motorsports Porsche. This is what it looked like for Randy.
I think he took a hit there and then big hit with the Armco as well, but as he's trying to turn in, see him going down through the gears, Dorsey, then I saw a little bump, like he might have got nudged with some traffic there from the inside.
Tell us more, Jamie.
Well, that's exactly what happened, Calvin. I checked in with the team, and he reported back to the team that he did get tagged, and that's what pushed him off track. It wasn't cold tires, nothing like that. So it wasn't an unlikely Randy Pope's move. He did actually get hit in traffic.
Makes a move on the 60. Brian Frizzell, nice work for a team and a man he knows so well. Mike Shank Racing and Oz Negri. And here comes Martin Brundle in the United Autosports Riley. Oh, a bit of contact there with Oz Negri.
That's the two Shank teammates, the two Rileys there. Mike Shank does not want us to see this. Martin Brundle, with his experience, he suddenly saw those two getting raced. He wanted some of that. Unbelievable stuff here in the opening laps.
Just checked in with Shank Racing. Right now, AJ Allmendinger can hear the crew on the radio, but they cannot hear him, although they do have a system of clicks worked out so he can let them know what the car is doing. He clicks that button, sends a little click back to the pits, 1, 2, or 3. They know how the car is handling. Oz Negri lost the cool suit on the pace lap. As for Martin Brundle right now, maybe he needs to turn up his cool suit, cool down just a little bit.
Take you back and show you what happened. Far right is Martin Brundle, Oz Negri in the middle.
Well, Martin had a huge run around the outside. That's exactly what Negri did to him on the opening lap when everyone was stacked up there. But as Oz released off the corner, traded some paint there. Hopefully not too much bodywork damage. We saw some parts fly. Andrew Davis behind the wheel of the 59 car. Nick Tandy behind the wheel, the Englishman of the 17. So Max really gained a lot of time there. But you just got to give it up, Dorsey. You can't afford to get mixed up in that kind of thing. That's it. Pruitt showing his experience right there.
Now these two drivers, Max Angelelli, Scott Pruitt, have a lot of respect for each other. Watch this, they split the Camaro and GT. Now they're going to come back together door to door and have a duke out down for the brake zone going into the bus stop.
Ollie Gavin got a great look at those two Daytona prototypes, one going low, one going high. This is what it looked like from Pruitt's seat.
That was smart of Pruitt. He released the wheel, he let the car go free, go up to the top.
You see Max the axe there, tucked it down low. I'm sure he had to check up on the throttle a little bit.
Max right away
took the line away.
Yeah, Max right away moves up next to Pruitt so he doesn't get blocked by these other GT cars in the low lane.
This is a great story. Flying Lizard Motorsports. The team owner is Seth Nyman, and he's got his good friend Johannes van Overbeek, Pat Long, and Jörg Bergmeister as the quartet. The same four drivers that drove for TRG along with Flying Lizards last year in GT and got on the podium. This is a leased car. It's not a car that they own. However, they have taken possession of it since about late October last year. And the team, led by Tommy Sadler, Craig Watkins, all of the guys, Eric Ingram, They have been working overtime to just go from front to rear on this car. It's got a new engine in it, and they have worked tirelessly to get this up into top tip show condition, and then to go out and grab the pole just left everybody with their mouths wide open and said, how good is this? And how good is it? Well, York Bergmeister has a 15-second lead. He has checked out.
Robin just went through the most dangerous corner on this racetrack, pit out.
Yeah.
Cold tires. And the good thing about this Continental tire this year as well, it comes in really quickly. Oh, problems with the 30 machine, the Racer's Edge Mazda RX-8.
Got lucky. Did not make that barrier. He didn't hit it, so he's good there.
Scott Redditch for John Maraki's team. What happened? Oh, the O2's got drama. Scott Dixon.
Where is he on the racetrack? He might have a long way to go.
Okay, this is where you just got to be super patient. I mean, that is going to bust that bodywork apart, bust some suspension pieces, and he's close to pit in. It's going to cost you a little bit of time, but don't magnify the problem.
Full course yellow for just the second time in this year's Rolex 24 at Daytona, and this is Scott Dixon for Telmec's target. Chip Ganassi Racing finally made it back to his pit box. How bad is it?
Well, Lee, the great thing is Mike Hall, who calls the shots on this car, was able to tell Scott Dixon before he got up on the oval. He said, Scott, slow down, slow down. We're seeing on the telemetry you got a right rear going down. So that was a great thing because they didn't do much damage to the car other than a little bit of body work. He's just going to change that tire, go back out on the racetrack now. But when they come back in, they're going to do a driver change and get Dario Franchitti behind the wheel. Talking to Mike Hall about that driver change right now, he said, I want to try and cycle all my drivers through before it gets dark.
This is the stranded Racer's Edge Mazda of Scott Redditch.
Surprised he didn't get that going. He did not make contact with that barrier. He's right up next to it, but it looked like a simple spin from where we were looking anyway.
Getting back to Mike Hull's point about getting his drivers through, what happens on these race weeks here? You've got so many drivers to rotate through the car. Sometimes you get to the race and you'll find a driver's only had 6 or 7 laps, and then you throw them in the middle of the night, and it's really just a lot to deal with. Let's take a look at the replay here.
Watching the red car, just gets in there and breaks free, locks the car down, does exactly like he should. No contact made. Really kind of surprised he wasn't able to fire the thing up and get going. Oh, and there's the O2 before it came in.
Let's join Scott Dixon on board and take a listen.
Big save there, just finishing off the bank. He's still loaded up when it let go, Dorsey.
Yeah, and you saw the twitch. He was good. Luckily, he has been told, and we were talking about that before, the telemetry on these cars sends back the air pressure on the tires to the mechanics. They saw that there was one low and tipped him off before that was big.
Under yellow here at Daytona. We'll squeeze in a quick commercial break, come back, hopefully go racing not too much longer after that.
Yeah, Bob, watching this team, we're just about 10 seconds away from 2 minutes on this gear cluster change. I don't think this is going as well as probably the practice does at the shop, and typically things at the racetrack don't, because they were hoping to get this gear cluster change done in about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and right now they've still got that same gear cluster in the car, just trying to get it all out, get all the fluid out of the car, and then we'll see that next cluster or that gear stack go in, of which they're going to be lifting up and putting into the back end of this car here right now, and then they're going to have to tighten down all these bolts and put some more fluid in the car. So they're not going to hit that time of 2 minutes 30 seconds right now, 2 minutes 20 seconds, but the hope is that they can still beat that pace car before it comes out and they go down a lap. I have a feeling that these guys are going to lose a lap, but we still have many hours in front of us, and they'll be able to get it back. So we're just going to stay here and watch this. They're getting the crash attenuator put back on the car, but I think we're still probably another 30 seconds or so away from maybe this car leaving.
Well, that gear cluster he just pulled out is about 260 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's just sitting there, a little oven that he just pulled out of there with his hands, and all that oil is at the same temperature.
And that is the difference. I mean, we talk about how prepared this team is, and they go through all of these drills to make sure and they have a hard number on what it takes. But when the temperature's like it is, Dorsey, that makes it a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
You can't run and do this change in the shop with the parts at that temperature.
It's going to be a clear track ahead for the SunTrust GM Dallara.
Saw everyone stack up there at the tail of the field as the lead car, Max Angelelli, slowed the field to take the green.
Powered by Chevrolet, Max the Axe Angelelli sees the clear track ahead. He's got Antonio Garcia right behind in the Spirit of Daytona Chevy. 3 Chevys contact there. Oz Negri got a little sideways. Patrick Long was involved in that as well in the Flying Lizard car.
Yeah, I think actually he got into the side of Pat Long. I saw something just fly off the Flying Lizard car, a bit of something.
Oz Negri dives on the inside of Alex Gurney, not wasting any time to grab another position back into the Eastern Horseshoe. This is the Crown Royal, Mike Shank Racing Ford.
Looked like it just jumped sideways on him, Calvin, and it was a good save, but he did get right into the side of Pat Long.
It's a super quartet in this car. Oz Negri, John Pugh, and we've got Mark Goosens back in Grand Am Racing, which is terrific, and Michael Valiente, the 4th driver in that 60 car. Folks, the trials and tribulations for Team Ganassi continue. Take a look at this. It just happened a few moments ago for the 01 car of Scott Pruitt. Scott's got to come to a stop here. He's missed the bus stop chicane.
Scott had the maturity right there to realize that had he turned into the corner, he was going to risk either a spin or a crash into the rail there. He just aborted it, and he just took that divot, if you will.
It's a very un-Ganassi-like start to this year's Rolex 24. We'll see how they can come back. New leader in GT, Boris Said. For Will Turner's Turner Motorsport in this BMW M3, along with Bill Oberlin, Paul Dall'Alana, and Matt Plum being drafted into this team because regular driver Joey Hand has moved up to the Daytona Prototype Division and driving with Team Ganassi here at this event. But this is stellar. This will bring a big smile to the boys' faces to bring this new car out and go straight to the front. And interestingly enough, when we were here for the Raw before the 24 earlier this month, this car was fastest in the very first practice session. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Mitcham Motorsports Porsche has experienced some drama here, just on the outside of turn 3.
Right outside the International Horseshoe on the exit. Let's see what we get here. I think he's got no gears.
Yeah, lost the drivetrain in some capacity. Just rolls off to the outside of the road. Similar position on the track where Randy Post had his problem in the very opening lap, but so not a smooth day, and you have to wonder whether that hit with the guardrail. Sometimes that will shock that rear axle and go back through. All problems here for the 8 car.
That is not good for Mike Forrest. That's at the bus stop on the backside of the circuit. And look at the rubbish on the track.
Boy. He shoveled that all up with the nose. We saw these cars go off last year. That splitter digs into the soft sandy soil here, and it just explodes the dirt on the track. Everybody taking it nice and easy through there.
Well, 69 nearly ran into the back of the 88 Auto House Camaro as well. Everybody just taking it very gingerly through there. This will tell us what happened, boys.
Big speed here. Straight off he goes. Watch it shovel in. Boom! Right there.
That's a shame, because that is one of the real fast cars in this race. They were the fastest at the Raw Before the Shore, the open test earlier this month, but he was lucky that he didn't get clobbered. That could have been a lot more damage for the Starworks entry.
Watch from this angle. You can see how high that stuff goes.
Calvin in there too deep, Dorsey, and just locks the front brakes up, tries to make the corner. We saw Pruitt get in there a little bit deep early. He just decided to take the escape route.
Does he got to replace his divot? Yeah. Good look there at the width of that amount of dirt that's out there. These cars snaking through the only clean place there is. And this is early in the race, Calvin.
Yeah, it's going to take a while to clean that up, but green flag conditions continue, so everyone is safe. But let's take a look there. 30 car. Oh, that was really close there with this 10 car. That was Max Angelelli, I believe. The race leader came in there really hard behind a GT machine.
That's Bruce Ledoux there in Leighton Reese's Camaro, having an anxious moment. Just as things were heading in the right direction for Jonathan Bomarito, he was 5th in GT. These guys are trying to win their 3rd Rolex 24 in 4 years. Look at that right rear doors.
Yeah, and you're looking at the good side. You should see the body damage. It must have just exploded. 57 just went through the bus stop. He'll have to come to a complete stop, which he didn't.
He didn't. That's a problem.
We've heard he's got throttle problems of some sort.
Oh, maybe he's got no drive. He's just trying to get it back to pit lane. He's willing, because he will not be scored on that lap by blowing through the chicane.
No, he won't. This car, once we get a look at the other side, has got some significant damage. That tire, in my estimation, probably just exploded all at once, and it's really taking the whole right side off the Mazda. We're going to have a lot of work to do when that car gets back to pit lane. There, now you can see it better.
It's Bomarito doing his best to get back to pit road as quickly as he can, but it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? You can't go too fast because look at that flailing tire and just look at the extent of the bodywork damage.
That tire can come apart and get a hold of the suspension and just completely destroy it. And now we've got another flat tire on the O2, boys. The right rear on this car is down. And now there's no surprise to me about that when you look at that bus stop like it is.
And we'll also remember, there could have been some bodywork that was cut down. They didn't replace that rear bodywork, remember. Just looking at the rule book here quickly, if you blow through the chicane, you will not, it's not that you won't be scored for that lap, but you will have to do a drive-through penalty with no service allowed. So even coming through pit lane for this to get the fix done, they'll still have to come back through pit lane, I believe, to serve a penalty for blowing through the chicane.
Full course yellow, and there is a big cleanup process to begin.
Let's see if the Ganassi boys can perform some magic. There is a new wrinkle in the rules when you make a pit stop now. Oh, more drama here. Now we're looking at the O2 again.
Yeah.
Brian standing by at Speed Source. What did you see, Brian?
A lot of damage to the right rear of that Mazda. Jonathan Bomarito got a new tire. They sent him back out. They're going to have to come in and tape some of that down. It is definitely going to be flopping in the breeze, so to speak. The 57 on pit road as well. Robin Liddell talking about some type of a throttle linkage, had no response from it. So the team has worked on that. They've dropped him back off the jack stands. They'll be looking to come back out. The 02 on pit road with a right rear cut down tire. And now Liddell having problems leaving his pit box while the 02 heads back out.
57 is stranded. It's stuck.
There's plenty of reason for punctures out there. We see all the debris down there. That's not just grass that came out of there. There's rocks and stones in there, so this doesn't surprise me. We heard that this car was having a throttle linkage of some kind of a throttle problem, which doesn't appear to be fixed.
One-time class leading car. This car led more laps than any other in the GT category in the 2010 Rolex 24. It's not going to plan right now.
Meanwhile, at 99, Jimmy Johnson behind the wheel of the Red Dragon, the Gainesco 99. Chevrolet Riley, he sits behind the wheel, but they too pulled the engine cover on their stop. It was a long one, and Johnson now underway.
Here's a big thing for Jimmy Johnson this year, Dorsey. He says that with the amount of time that he's driven in Daytona prototypes now, they've gone from a 4-driver rotation to a 3. He really feels he can contribute on a whole different level.
Well, I think he can too. Ironically right there, they're either running an extremely tall first gear, or he just left the pits, I think, in second possibly. He was in a very tall gear when he left.
Yeah, definitely had a different engine note to what you'd expect leaving the pit box. But spoke to Carl Brannon and Bob Stallings about this change. They had Jimmy Vasser on the squad for many years here at Daytona, of course, and they just felt that kept everyone more focused. They said the guys were going away, and you lose the thread of the race. And just by having a 3-driver rotation, everyone's on the boil all of the time. And it also gives all of these drivers, particularly Jimmy Johnson, more seat time during the course of the race weekend in general.
More on the 99 with Brian Till.
Well, it's time for adjustments. Teams really getting a handle on the cars and what was going on with the 99. They saw a couple of right rear problems on some other teams. They looked at that right rear tire and said, let's adjust the camber. They straightened the tire. They took some camber out of it, stood it up, as we would call it. You guys can talk more about that, but they're trying to conserve that right rear tire here in the Rolex 24. We've got a long, long way to go.
The pictures tell the story, and it's not a pretty one for the 57 Stevenson Camaro. After such a great start, driving to the lead, this is one of the class favorites for this race, and they're having to take the Camaro back to the garage. We're getting reports that there was some bumping and banging on that restart. Let's have a look at a replay. Let's have a look at the back. Watch further back, watch further back. It's the United Autosports car, the Flying Lizard car.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why the level 5 car came to pit road.
Wow, and it lifted the back end of the 45 Flying Lizard all the way off the ground.
Seth Nyman behind the wheel of the 45 car, and everyone stacked up. He went to the right. That level 5 car had too much speed, had nowhere to go.
Look at the 9, look at the 9 looking racy. Terry Borchella, the inaugural Daytona prototype champion, and of course an overall Rolex 24 winner.
Matt Bell off the pace there, drops to the apron. Must be a problem with the 77 Office Depot machine.
The Action Express cars are flying here. These are the V8 Porsche powered cars, Riley chassis. And the team that has regrouped, they've got a new Focus, and they're being run out of Max Crawford's second shop up there in Denver, North Carolina.
There's the 45 guys Flying Lizard car. You see the damage Seth Nyman occurred up there when he got hit from behind.
Hopefully that's all the problem is just body work. Hopefully that suspension didn't get damaged as well.
It's rubbing.
But he's got a bit of a rub there. He's got to be careful. I think they're going to have to take a look at that and not risk getting a puncture in a high-speed part of the racetrack.
Here's Matt Bell. We were talking about before. It was slow on the racetrack coming in. Looked like all new tires going on there. I don't know if he thought he had a puncture or what the problem is here.
That was frustrating because Matt was in the top 5. Here's a different angle. Look just a little further back in the field.
Yeah, it's a stack up, actually. It's going to happen back up in this area.
Watch here, watch here, watch here. Oh, Seth just moved up a little bit. And the 95 of Scott Tucker just got jammed with nowhere to go.
Yeah, we've got some damage at the right rear corner here. Seth Nyman was reporting to the team that he can smell the tire rubbing, so they're going to make sure that when they get this new tire on, they're not going to have to deal with the rub. But it just looks like a little bit of the bodywork is broken apart back here. And Seth was reporting on the radio that on that restart, there was just a little bit of an accordion effect in front of him. So he started accelerating and then realized that everybody was jumping on the brakes. He had to jump on the brakes, and then it looks like that's when Scott Tucker may have gotten into the back of him. So this car's so fast in these first couple hours. I think it's got the quickest lap out there. You guys can confirm that. But they're just going to hope to get this thing fixed up and get it back in the fight.
Yeah, for sure, it's been the fastest car by over half a second, Chris. So hopefully this won't thwart their hopes of victory here.
We have 11 cars on the lead lap in Daytona Prototype, the last of them being Scott Pruitt, who was able to get his lap back under the new rules wrinkle regarding yellow flag wave arounds. Up, we got a problem. The 65 GT car goes around. That's Bill Sweedler. Look at all those tire tracks. We've had a number of cars go straight off after the drivers turn in. And I guess, David, get unsettled going over the new curbing.
Well, no, that wasn't very subtle or clever.
Wow.
I think it was Calvin said earlier on, that all their braking points are going to have to be adjusted because the new track, and they're slightly relaxed to turn into the chicane here, or the bus stop. So they're arriving there a little bit quicker than they were before, and of course they're braking just a little bit later. And obviously we've seen 2 or 3 people, the number 30 car obviously going off there, then the 65. They just get in a bit too quick and a bit deep, and even though you've got the new surface with good grip, it all comes to naught. Let's have another look at it. Look, I wonder if he got a bit of an assist there. He might have got a slight assist from the rear, but as you can see, a lot of grass and dust already building up there, and here we are only about 3 hours in, so just imagine what it's going to be like by the middle of the night.
This is for the lead. Slower traffic ahead. Paul Edwards in the dark number 90. David Donahue in the number 5. Oh, lots of traffic up ahead. Wow.
Yeah, and this is such a big temptation into this turn 6. You just hope the guy's seen it. I don't think the 30 car, we've already seen the 30 car have an off at the chicane bus stop. I think he closed down there. I think he tapped Edwards.
Watch for that bright lime green Krone Racing Lola. Only Lola in the DP field. He is moving up in the hands of Nick Johnson.
It also has done very well in these first hours or 2. Very good.
They've had a share of the lead already today. We're barely over 2 hours into the race. Look at the beautiful light out there.
This is certainly the weather for racing. Last year it was very wet to start with. Never a good thing to start a race.
Now here's good lane discipline by the GT drivers. You see them down low on the double yellow line. That's what they're told to do when you're being overtaken by a DP car that has a huge speed advantage. Stay low, let the faster cars pass on the high side.
And if any of them ever wandered up to the middle of the track, it was always a bit of a hair-raising task to go around the high side of them because of those bumps. Ooh, they get so close. Oh,
whoa.
Seth Nyman again in the 45 car.
One of the Ferraris parked by the side of the road, and the 66 Porsche. Ben Keating.
Oh, boy.
There's Nyman in the 45. This was the pole-sitting car. And there's the 81 moving again. That's the Ferrari that was sitting stationary. Doug Barron behind the wheel. Left front tire down on Seth Nyman's car.
I wonder if that was what put Seth Nyman off the track. Something happened.
Now there's the 66.
That's got a flat tire now. Of course, was it a flat tire that caused him to go off, or did it go flat? Ooh. Ben Keating got a long drive back now. Kevin Buckler looking on, not happy with that.
Boy, oh boy, they've had an eventful first 2 hours of this race.
Boy, 66 car, pole position in the GT class.
It's the car Dominic Farnbacher got out of. He's trying to drive that car all the way around and not on the racetrack. Well, he's got a long ride ahead of him.
He has got a long ride ahead of him.
And Seth Nyman now, he got hit up the back on a restart, damaging the right rear body work, had to pit for that. On board, car spinning up ahead, that's the Ferrari going around. The 66 goes off in avoidance. Can't find a gear. Don't know how Nyman got off. There's the Ferrari going around.
Spinning on the kink.
Oh, Nyman goes off as well. He went straight off in the kink.
Oh, I think Nyman went off because he was trying to, obviously got panicked, and when those two guys went off in front of him and went straight off himself.
Or he got unsighted, you might say, with all that dust.
He was unsighted, a lot of dust.
Wow. So this car that started out with an absolutely blistering stint in the hands of a former class champion in York Bergmeister is really starting to struggle now in the hands of the team owner. Seth Nyman got the car back to the garage and walks away somewhat forlornly. There's a look at the driver lineup. Once again, as we mentioned earlier, this is a leased car as the team sticks a toe in the water of the Daytona prototype class after many years of success in GT. Now here's another incident that took place a few moments ago down into turn 1.
Oh, wow. Boy, the O2 car there. Talk about better to be born lucky than rich. There's a new leader, the number 5 car, David Donahue at the wheel.
Donahue was on the driver's strength when the 45, which was then the 59 in Daytona prototype, won this race back in 2009. Now let's get back to Chris.
Well, the Flying Lizard team here, their first time trying to run a Daytona prototype. Right now, I think you guys have the quickest lap on the racetrack, but the car's in the garage, so big problems. What happened there, Seth?
Came through the kink, that's turn 4, if you have a track map, and there were 3 cars spinning in front of me. One of the Ferraris, I think, sliding across the track, one guy on the edge of the track, and one further in the dirt. Because the car's tracking to the right, really the only way to try and avoid them is to go right. Did that. When we came back on the track, there's a little lip there, and seems to have damaged a radiator or a water line.
So you guys will be back in the race. That should probably just take about 10 minutes to fix typically.
I have no idea. We will be back in the race, but I don't know how long it will take to fix.
Okay, Bob, I'm going to go take a look at the car and see if I can figure out how long it's going to take to get the 45 back in.
All right, thanks, Chris. Now here's the 66. Oh, boy, made it back to the pits, driving all the way around the outside of the racetrack. A lot of body damage. But he heads back out. Welcome back. There's Paul Edwards in the number 90 Spirit of Daytona Racing Chevrolet Coyote. He was running second when we left you for commercial. He is now well back in 10th place after a quick spin over in the chicane, and he was not alone. On board one of the TRG cars, you see somebody getting off driver's right. That's Matt Bell spinning as he comes up behind Alex Popo in the number 2. So Popo took the nose off of his car. Bell spun in avoidance, and then Edwards arrived on the scene, and he spun as well. And this was the 2 car headed back from the chicane to the pit lane.
That is Alex Popo, right? I think he's the one that started all. We heard Dorsey earlier on talking about those curbs. If you put a wheel on the curb, it's great, but if you put a wheel, if you go too far on the curb and you get behind it, it causes a lot of trouble because the wheel drops down behind the curb.
That's the aero splitter across the front, which obviously got jammed down on the road. Here's another look at the incident from a different camera. Watch for Popo. Wham! Ooh. That causes the initial damage. There's Bell going around. Everybody else gets through, and then we wait for the arrival of Paul Edwards on the scene.
Here he comes. I think he just got on the dirt, you know.
There he goes.
Got all that dirt that got showered onto the track. I think he just spun on it.
Maybe a little fluid if the radiator was compromised when that splitter got upended. Wow. There's the 9 of Terry Borcheller, part of the winning overall driver team last year, back in the car running third.
That chicane is causing a lot of problems today, isn't it? It is quicker than it was. The turn in is better than it was. It's been repaved. It's obviously getting everybody way overconfident.
Now here's Kenny Wallace, our speed colleague, who was about to jump out of his shoes. He was so excited to be here. He had spoken with his brother Rusty, who had driven to the Rolex 24 before, and he took some advice from Rusty, he told us. Rusty said, you're going to get there and you're going to think, oh, I'm a NASCAR Sprint Cup driver, I can do this. And he said, Rusty said, you will be amazed at the way some of these guys you've never heard of will go flying by you. They know how to road race in Grand Am.
He was telling us yesterday, they're all called Fritz and Paul and Ross. He said he never heard of any of them. He said, and they'll just absolutely leave you flying in the dust.
He's holding his own right there.
Well, again, you know, a Sprint Cup driver is just not as used to these road racing drivers are to braking and gear shifting, and that's where they lose time. You know, going around the banking, of course, he was fine, but when he came to that turn 1, he got rather swamped there by a whole bunch of guys. So, big learning experience for Kenny, but he certainly seems to be very up on it.
17th in class, 34th overall. On board with Bill Auberland now in that Turner BMW. Last year it was an M6, this year an M3.
BMW has done an incredible job today. There's no doubt about it. These guys are all driving very well. Oh, full course caution again.
Full course caution. Oh, the 76, that was Nick Youngson, the second place car in the overall. The point I was going to make is that people don't sit in the grandstand of road races. They go down on the field. They want to get right up to the racetrack, have fun with all the things to see and do here at Daytona, including those carnival rides. Let's see if we can see what happened to Nick Youngson.
Another victim of the chicane, I suspect. There he goes.
Oh, gets across, left side wheels on the curb, tries to control it, and it yaws back the other way.
Boy, and he was lucky he did not go over any of those curbs or anything like that.
Doesn't look like he did much damage to it. Our 4th full course caution. Leader heads for pit lane, followed by the second team car. The 5 and the 9 in together. David Donahue. Ooh, that was close.
Yeah.
And Terry Borcheller.
No driver changes.
90 of Paul Edwards. I think Jimmy Johnson is in down there in the 99. Down in the chrome pits, Justin Bell.
Yeah, great preparation here by the 76 car for this. Just look at this front splitter. It's actually rounded, both top side and bottom side, and they've actually had a couple of off-road excursions and not collected the front end. They did that deliberately for Daytona. Obviously an aero point to it, but also the fact that you can't rip the front end off the car. Very nice pit stop. Nick Johnson staying in the car. You know, this car is a little bit of a dark horse, right? Running very well right now, and heads out. Obviously they've got to wait at the end of pit lane. The red flag has just been pulled, so everyone heading back out on track.
A number of cars took the opportunity to pits, and there in the pit lane is the 45 ready to go back into action. The SunTrust car, the number 10 pitted. 2 of the Mike Shank cars, the 23 and the 60. And more work going on the 01. Is this the camber change we heard about, Chris?
That's correct, Bob. Camber change on the 01 here. All the other cars just came in for tires and fuel. Looks like they're doing a little bit of work on the 99, which is just a couple pit boxes up in here. Looks like something on the front of that car. I'm going to try and work my way through. But Memo Rojas bringing the 01 back to pit lane. About probably 30 seconds to make that camber change. Standing that right rear up a little bit more to take a little bit of stress off that right rear inside shoulder. And he's back down and away. I'm going to go check in with the 99.
Meanwhile, Christophe Bouchou at the 55 from Level 5 Motorsports, followed by Justin Wilson in the number 6 from Michael Shank Racing, move into the top 2 positions. We'll take a break. There's a beautiful sunset. We'll be back with more of the 49th Rolex 24 at Daytona.
Whoops.
Jim McCallion in the 53.
No.
I don't see any smoke, any damage. If he just lost power. That's just past the kink.
His favorite turn, if you remember.
Yes, he had a big off at that corner once. I thought he was never going to stop crashing. Off comes the BMW 1 Series M Coupe safety car. We are back underway. Christophe Beauchou in the black 55, leading Justin Wilson, David Donahue, Ryan Briscoe, and Terry Borcheller. Both Action Express cars in the top 10 and running nose to tail, squeezing through the traffic.
Whoa, side by side.
On board with Briscoe. Gave up a spot to Donahue directly ahead. There's Donahue.
Full dark now, or as dark as it's going to get, with of course the floodlights everywhere. It used to be pretty gloomy out there in the middle of the infield. It was very dark. It's very dark along the bankings too. Boy, oh boy, these guys are hustling.
Donahue, Briscoe, and Borcheller. Let's go on board the 94 BMW. Oops.
Strike a light. Just look at them all.
Rush hour at Daytona.
It sure is rush hour.
Here's Jimmy Johnson in the 99. Bob Stallings Racing Gainscoat car.
Taking a place away from the 76 car there in that first complicated turn 1.
That was 4th position, so move Johnson up to 8th. And Johnson drops down to 9th. No one-trick pony is Jimmy Johnson, a former desert racer who obviously took to stock cars somewhat well, you might say. 5 consecutive NASCAR Sprint Cup championships.
Well, he's done okay.
And his teammates, John Fogerty and Alex Gurney, will tell you about him is that he'll just get in this car, having driven it, 2-3 times a year. He'll just get in it in a few laps, and bang, he's right on the pace.
Well, he's obviously a very, very special talent. You've only got to see the way he drives in Cup races. Carries himself so well off the track. Great ambassador for the sport, and obviously a terrific driver. There's the 45 car. Looks like it's going to take a place away from Nick Johnson. Nick must have a problem of some sort. He had an off right here at the chicane just about 3 or 4 laps ago, and he's not running the pace he's been running at all. So I wonder what is up with him.
The demonstration of the speed differential between the Daytona prototypes up high, the GT cars down low. 45, Johannes van Overbeek now in the car that Jörg Bergmeister put on pole and led with decisively before their problems began. Heard Bergmeister say, well, all we can do now is keep trying for the next 20 hours.
Very frustrating to do so well, he and Richard Long. You know, I mean, he came in on the first start with a 15-second lead, which, when you consider how competitive the cars were when the race started, was an extraordinary lead. And to see it all just disappear and now be, 30 laps down or whatever it is, I mean, just very disheartening.
Say one thing more about Jimmy Johnson. He is adamant that he not be pictured as the big superstar from America's most popular form of racing who comes in here to save the Gainscoat boys. Not a bit of it. He does not even want to talk about racing unless his teammates Alex Gurney and John Fogerty get due credit for being 2-time.
He got trapped by traffic there, the 42 car, and
loses a couple of positions.
Johannes van Overbeek goes whistling through there in the 45 car, so he's unlapped himself from the Gainscoat car. Jimmy Johnson showing a lot of class there, not trying to make an impossible move on that car he came up behind. He got trapped behind it, but he didn't do anything silly like pulling out and trying to get around it.
Well, this is what before it all began. He comes up on slower traffic. Here's your worst nightmare. When that traffic spreads out in front of you, you have to make a decision. Van Overbeek made the better decision, went to the outside. Jimmy gets trapped behind the slower traffic along the rail, if you will. And then goes to the outer position, swings a little bit wide. The door's opened by the slower traffic.
And the 95 slips through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Proving once again that no good deed goes unpunished. Early leader in the GT class is in the pits. Problems, Justin?
Very much so, and I think it's indicative of what's going on the track out there from all this sort of contact we're seeing. The 45 Magnus Racing Porsche actually came in after it hit debris out there. As it came by, we saw these sparks flying from underneath it, and they've actually broken a sway bar. Now, think of the impact that it requires to do that. So they're underneath the car working on that. But imagine if that had been a Daytona prototype that had run over debris big enough to cause that damage. And that's this time of night that they're cycling through all the drivers. Many of these teams have a variation in the experience and talent of their drivers. And about this time, 3 or 4 hours into the race, you generally see, if you like, the third string drivers getting their shot, and it doesn't always work out. That's maybe why we're seeing so much contact out there. But, you know, a broken sway bar from something hitting it. David, can you imagine the impact of that?
Absolutely. It's very severe, and of course it could do a lot of other, it's not going to just break the mounting points, it could do all sorts of other damage under there.
Well, that's it, and you know, you always see this in 24-hour races. Every time a car runs over a curb, I remember Dad said to me, he said, you know, if you do run off and you go, you know, you hit the wheel or you feel like you ran off too wide, tell the team, try not to, even if there's no apparent damage, 6, 10, 12 hours later, sometimes it can come back and bite you, and that's what I think you're going to see later in this race. Damage being done now will start to affect people in the early hours.
Whoops, the 4 car has spun off. Richard Zahn. Looks like he'll make it back to the track without a problem, and there are the 5 and the 10. Pretty much where they were when they came out of the chicane earlier in the lap. Call it even. We'll take a break and return with more from the Rolex 24 in a moment. Oh, problems for the 60. Michael Valiente, another right rear tire goes down.
Boy, he needs to go a bit slower. I think he's left it too late. Things
tearing itself apart. Now that flapping carcass.
And that carcass is very heavy old stuff, I tell you. It smashes around, does a lot of damage.
It's like a weed whacker working on that right rear body work.
Yeah.
He is down low. I believe that's NASCAR 3 and 4. Just beyond the chicane.
Hopefully for him it is, not the north end, the west end.
Ooh, he's going to come to a complete stop. David Donahue pits from the lead. The Action Express car. Looks like we'll have another driver change. Donahue out. Not sure who that is getting in. We'll find out in due time. Nicely choreographed stop. Compressed air on the vents. Rip a tear off the windshield. Get it in gear, get it in gear. Can't find first.
Slow away.
Well, if it's that driver's first stint, and I suspect it is, as you see Jimmy Johnson looking on, sometimes it takes a little bit to get into your rhythm. I would imagine that's Jimmy talking to John Fogerty right now, helping him to do what I just described. Here's what to expect. Here's where it's a little slick. Here's where the brake pedal might be soft. Any number of things that a driver might want to know to get up to race pace as quickly as possible.
I think he's telling him to watch out down at the bus stop with all that dust and debris down there. Which is where he is right now.
Yep.
Feel your way through there a little bit.
Meanwhile, 54, Patrick Pilet, Porsche factory driver from France, had a spin. That's what brought him to the pits. Here's another view. There goes 67. Watch the backside of the track. There goes Pilet. It's hard to tell since we don't see the cars, but I don't think he got an assist. Now, while we were away, there was some contact on the racetrack. Down in turn 1 on the 95, and that is the GT class leader, Paul Dell'Alana, in the 94. That was a pretty stout hit. Now you're on board the 94. Let's see if we can detect any handling issues as a result of that contact.
It was a pretty stout tap, wasn't it?
She's through turn 6. Back up. Now, meanwhile, over in the garage area, there is the Bob Stallings Racing crew. That's the 99 card. Jimmy Johnson mentioned earlier there were braking problems for the car. Now it looks like they might be working on the entire system. Chris Neville, what do we know?
Yeah, the car's been here for about a minute now. They're going to try and take care of this braking issue. So what you're seeing right now is they're getting the calipers and the rotors off the car. This team, there's two different ways that teams set up for brake changes during this race. Brake changes are very common, happens typically 2 to 3 times. But this team, what they were planning on doing is just changing the pads. So they weren't really set up for a full corner change like this. So this is going to be a much slower change than we typically see from a team like the Ganassi team, where they do a quick change to the entire corner. So they've got rather than pulling bolts out of that caliper that go into the upright, they've actually got studs that they've got to deal with and then pull those rotors and calipers off, and there's not a quick disconnect on the caliper either. So this change taking a lot longer than what we'll probably see from Ganassi later on.
And of course those brakes were plenty hot when they got to the garage.
And of course this just bears out what we're saying at the top of the show. You really cannot afford in modern day endurance racing, long distance racing, you just can't afford any extra stops at all because the cars are so competitive. To try and pull time back is almost impossible. They're now, where are they now? 99 car is down in 12th overall, just dropped to 13th overall, done 123 laps. The leader's done 126. So suddenly they're going to be, 4 or 5 laps behind.
Well, boy, that is a lot of work. Presumably just the fronts they're working on.
It is a lot of work. But as Chris was saying, some of the teams do this quick brake routine where they change the whole assembly.
Yeah, in modular sections.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Gainsco guys aren't doing that, or aren't set up to do that. You have to be set up for it. But now they've got to put the pads in.
See the pads, yeah. And they're going to have to balance and bleed them.
You got to push the
pistons back. Yeah, it's a complicated process. Welcome back under our 5th full course caution of this Rolex 24, the 49th annual at Daytona. The reason for the caution is debris. There you see, looks like the front spoiler off a Porsche or something. Nevertheless, a big chunk of body work.
Boy, it is a big chunk of body work.
A souvenir for somebody. Oh, that's off the 17. That's definitely a Porsche. So the safety car is back out, picking up the leader, Ricky Taylor, in the number 10 SunTrust car for his dad's team, Wade Taylor Racing. Buddy Rice runs 2nd, Christian Fittipaldi 3rd in the 5 and 9 cars, respectively. Then Rojas, the new race leader.
And then Bergmeister showing his muscle again.
He's got a lot of laps to make up.
He's a long way down.
Yep, they are still 19 laps down, despite the best efforts of the man who put that 45 car on pole. The only Porsche flat 6 power Daytona prototype in the field. The 2 Action Express cars use Porsche V8s. As they head through the chicane, take you back to turn 3. On board the 7 car, Scott Mayer. Pontian goes forward.
Oh dear.
Oh boy. And it's agony watching the scenery go by.
Oh my gosh, you got to wait for the whole field to go by.
Right to left. Oh man. Look at the way they make such short use of that 3,000-foot super stretch on the backside here at Daytona. Here comes the 99 back out of the garage and back into battle.
Oh boy, he's dropped down to 26th now. 14th in DP. And he is 8 laps behind.
Yeah.
Actually 9 laps behind. Well, your Bergmeister must have it just right. Oops, the 36 car has hit something, and
it's Michael Miller.
Ooh.
Oh, fluid on the track.
Oh my God, this is going to be another.
And it looks like it came from his car.
do that?
Did it, in fact? Well, maybe it wasn't from his car. Maybe.
Well, this is going to be exciting when these guys arrive on the scene.
Here comes the battle for the lead. Whoa. Splash. Oh, you saw Rojas squirm sideways.
And if we watch these guys go into the chicane, with that long shot again, you can see those brakes really glowing, and Bergmeister has got all four glowing, so he's got a good brake balance at the moment.
Now, this is not for the lead. This is Juan Pablo Montoya and Jörg Bergmeister, who are both laps down to the leaders, and they are just battling as though they were heading for the checkered flag.
Boy, that flat six, look at that, just incredible. And the Porsche engine. Of course, he's got those 6 speeds. Now watch the brakes glow. All four light up.
There you go. I mentioned the pads need special care. The teams tell us the pads, 32 has spun in 3. That's that tricky corner you talked about earlier, David.
Boy, yeah, it is a nasty corner, that.
There's that fluid.
And it obviously caught him out. He hit that guardrail on the right. Oh, now we've got the yellow flag and the oil flag out. The oil flag is this red and yellow stripe. Actually, it's oil or debris these days.
There's fluid in 2 places. That's in turn 3, and there's more over in the West Horseshoe.
Yeah, this
turn
one
6.
here.
Yeah,
There's
some
right there.
more.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at.
So somebody is dropping a lot of it. And that's an absolute puddle. That's coming out of 1 into 2, where we just saw that car spun. This is over in 6. And that, I suspect, is where it's coming from. All that steam coming out of the cooling system of the number 36.
Well, he's going. Why would he do another lap?
Well, he's down below the double yellow line.
But he's driven past his pits once.
I don't know. Maybe we'll get a chance to ask him.
Let's go back racing with the Action Express number 5 and a former Indy 500 winner, Buddy Rice, at the helm. However, he's got Michael McDowell all over him in that curve.
Look at this.
One goes off.
Rojas is wide. That turn 1 looks so appetizing now, Dorsey, to run that long way around the outside. But it's catching guys off guard there.
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again. You get out there by that gray area and the car quits turning, and you better be able to backpedal real quick, otherwise you're in that fence.
Oh, we talk about the Gainesville car having brake problems. They changed those brakes, but look at a big lock up there on the 99 machine. Ricky Taylor's got around Luis Diaz to take the 3rd spot back.
Calvin, that looked like it was a right rear hung up too. It didn't look like it was on the front, and it only looked like one rear, which is not a good situation.
And Ricky Taylor doesn't need to get tangled up in anything here with John Fogarty. And this very corner in the summertime race last July, Fogarty, well, he kind of just touched Ricky a little too hard, and he comes
like
across
that.
the nose of Ricky.
Chopped across him.
That is out of order. That is really out of order. I mean, John is several laps down. He had to be aware that the car was down on the inside, and Ricky's battling here for the lead.
You know what Ricky did right there? He didn't want to wreck. He jumped on the brakes really hard. As a result, he took the brunt of the hit. If he'd have stayed on the throttle, he'd hit more side to side. Actually, he needed to just go up there and knock the 99 off.
He wasn't real close to John, so it was a bit of a, a brave move. But nonetheless, I'm sure he was thinking that John would recognize he's several laps down and let the leaders through.
And there could also be a little bit of equity on both sides. There could be some coaching from the SunTrust side. Hey, you let him go, you're not for position. Fogarty seems to be on a mission right now, just don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
so fortunately, no harm done to either car.
We are not even close to where you should be running in a jeopardizing situation in a pass zone like that. I mean, my God, we got a lot of way to go.
Flipping the coin here, I guess you'd have to say Fogarty is somewhat near the lead of this race, so he could get one of those 8 laps back. So I guess he's going to keep pushing.
And knowing John and the little terrier that he is, he's saying, I'm on a mission, get out of my way. I don't care what position you're in. I'm working on my program. On board the Speed Source 69. Oh, look at that. That's Tim Bell. Rather, Rob Bell. He just nails that car. And then the Speed Source Mazda
And the
crunches
07 Leighton Reese's car to the right of that got taken out.
This is our championship winning car from 2010. They had a disastrous Daytona last year, dug themselves a big hole. Nick Ham behind the wheel. That is a big shame for him. He's so disappointed. Look at the damage to Leighton's car.
That's what I was talking about. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. That took the brunt of both cars. hitting into the side of it.
Eric Curran is behind the wheel of the 07 Camaro right now. So Rob Bell crunched into the 32, the PR1 car of Tom Papadopoulos, and then Nick Ham was behind the wheel of the 69 Speed Source car. There is Nick.
And then that all ricocheted off and picked up the 07. And look at the damage, Calvin. Left front is gone. The suspension's towed way up underneath there.
Still running green. Race control feels no need to fly the double yellows just yet.
Huge damage to the right front corner of the Mazda there. You can see wheel totally askew.
We're riding with Nick Ham. Keep an eye on the 48. It's going to be on the left-hand side of your screen. It's Rob Bell running second in class at this point in time. Tries to go up the inside.
Now watch to the right. Right here. Bam! There's the 07. Nobody saw it coming.
Yeah, it would have been a glancing blow on the left side of the car on board with now, but then the 07 just took out the right front suspension.
Here's the replay of the 10 of Ricky Taylor and John Fogarty just cutting across his front there. So it was a close call, but no harm done.
Now, Calvin, you and I both drove for Jack Roush back here in the day, and if he saw us in a group of 5 cars running that hard, what would he told you? He'd have told you, get
out of there.
Out of there. Come to the pit. I'm going to stop you.
And I think, you know, with Ricky Taylor, if that had been a battle for position, you would have said Ricky was too far back. But I think looking at the consideration of Fogarty, you know, he's several laps down.
99, Bob Stallings Gainesco Chevy is back in its garage. Is this more brake problems? What is going on? The troubles for this top-tier team. There is Bob Stallings in the background. Kyle Brannon, race engineer. Terry Wilbert, team manager. All hands on deck.
Tugging on that wheel, Calvin, like they might have a loose suspension bit or something. We did see that it was still dragging a rear brake on the racetrack. Something not right at the rear.
Yeah, certainly, unless if the suspension has got some kind of issue, that may be creating like a crossweight problem when he's getting into the brake zone. I mean, obviously they went to the brakes and changed everything out just a short while ago, but John is not feeling the car as happy right now, and you just can't afford to take this risk. You're better to, when you're this far out of the game, you don't want to like get yourself further in a hole by damaging the race car.
This is the car that has 5-time Sprint Cup champion Jimmy Johnson in it. Look up ahead here. Does this tell us more about the 99?
Well, that was a good side-to-side shot, and they're looking at that right rear suspension. As if something might have gotten bent. And you're right, Calvin, if anything gets moved at all back there, then the cross weights on this car goes crazy.
Brian's there, Brian.
Well, guys, you called it. I talked to Bob Stallings. He said they had contact with somebody. I'm looking at the right rear wheel. It's got marks down here on the wheel where you can tell that the metal has been peeled away from the rim. Same thing is true of the right front. It too has damage to that right front rim. So the car just not square right now. Contact out on the racetrack. And bad luck continues for 99.
This happened a little earlier. Check this out. There is the Rick Ware Porsche. Montoya ducks to the right-hand side. There's Ricky Taylor in the SunTrust Dallara. Oh, that's exactly what JPM did with John Fogarty. That side slap in the International Horseshoe.
Yeah, he's on kill mode at the moment. I don't mean that literally, but I mean he is really going for it, you know. 18 hours, 39 minutes to go. I'm not sure you need to be pushing quite that hard again. Wayne Taylor will not be happy watching those pictures as he sits on the pit box with his boy behind the wheel.
Yeah, and if you know Ricky, I mean, you would not do that to a person as nice as Ricky Taylor.
He's trying to speak clean, stay out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he'll change his attitude here shortly.
Very different philosophies too between the 01 and the 02. Well, they share the same part of the same philosophy in victory. However, Juan Pablo Montoya, Dario Franchitti, Scott Dixon, Jamie Mack, they're not going for a championship. This is their one and only drive in the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series this year. It's all about win or nothing. High drama while we're in that commercial break. The 10 SunTrust Dallara with Ricky Taylor is back in the garage, and we are hearing reports that it may have been with that side-by-side collision with Juan Pablo Montoya. It has happened again, first with the 99, now with the 10.
I think Ricky may have felt something. They threw Max Angelelli in there for a lap, and he said, no, we've got to sort something out. So it's now Max sitting behind the wheel. Brian lines on the spot there. What do you see, mate?
Well, guys, they've strung the car. Max Angelelli, they came into the garage. Ricky Taylor brought it into the garage a couple of laps ago. They checked the car quickly, thought something was broken. Angelelli traded driver seats with him. He went back out and said, no, indeed, it is messed up. We got to check this, guys. So they brought it to the garage. They strung it. You'll actually see a string running down the side of the car. That's how they align the car and check the toe, the angles that the tires and wheels point in or out. So they're checking that right now. And Dorsey, they're on the right front adjusting the toe. So somehow with that big hit, knocked the toe out on the right front. Right now they're readjusting that. The problem is, think about it, that right front is what takes the load here at Daytona, up on the banking, back onto the banking. And I'll tell you, just get a big hit like that and adjusting it concerns me for the duration. We got another 19 hours, 18.5 hours to go here.
For those of you just joining us, this is the most recent breaking story. The 10 SunTrust Dallara, after a collision with one Pablo Montoya, had to return to the garage. This car was at the top of the field.
I'm not going to say that's Montoya's fault, but it certainly was not Ricky's.
Let's show you a different angle. Let's show you the onboard when Ricky Taylor was still driving the car. And look to the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see Montoya come across. So we're riding with Ricky now, and they're approaching the Rick Ware Porsche up ahead.
Montoya commits to the inside as they get towards the brake zone. Watch. GT car moves to the inside, takes the line away. Ricky has nowhere to go other than the outside line. Montoya tries to go between both cars, gets clipped by the GT car, and then slams into the 10 machine on the right side of their suspension.
And Justin went a little bit longer there because we're under a full course caution. We had the time. The reason why, Jared Beyer in the Ford-powered Starworks Riley Daytona prototype had an off-track excursion. And let's show you how it looks for Jared. Right of your screen.
Oh, he's got a brake lock up, Calvin. Once you're off the outside there, just no way to stop. Gets in the grass. Not that big an impact, though. He got lucky on that one.
Yeah, you could see him. He just got in a little bit too deep, and coming out of the pits, it looked like cold tires. Just got caught out.
And unfortunately, it wasn't that long ago that car came back out of the garage area. So it's been a frustrating recent period for the 7 Starworks team and Peter Barron.
Guys changing the gear cluster on the 02. I'm going to have to get with Mike Hull to make sure that it's for the same reason and not just a shifting problem in the back. So we'll get with him later. But anyway, you look at it, it is a lengthy stop. Remember, they thought they could do it in about 2 minutes on the 01. Took a little longer than they had planned. And right now, I watched the field go by behind the pace car. So the 02 came in up front. They're going to lose a lap right here.
You can't really see that gear cluster closely enough to tell if any of the gears
It tucked right under that rear valance, so it's awkward to get to for the mechanics there.
Yeah, it's awkward for sure. And again, like I said, that's about 260 degrees Fahrenheit of metal that you're playing with there.
For sure, the other crew would have relayed any delays that they had when they did the work on the 01 to try and negate those happening again, but certainly it's taken a little bit longer than they thought it would.
What's going on here at Spirit of Daytona after a very positive start? Antonio Garcia brought the car in 10th position.
Like they may be working on the brakes. Now, there is a big concern here. They're saying that with the extra grip from the racetrack going down into the corners, the brake wear this year is a little bit higher. What you have is a brake window in terms of how long you can run the brakes for. Everyone's looking at one change, certainly in terms of the 24-hour event. There's a much bigger window, about a 6 to 8 hour window to do that in last year. This year is a lot tougher as we get ready for green again. Some of these guys may be taking this opportunity under yellow to just change those brakes now.
Green flies with the 01 of Joey Hand at the front of this field. And this young American superstar will enjoy this view. What a moment for him. The Californian getting to drive for Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates in the top tier division. And he will show them exactly what he can do. It's certainly not the first time he's driven a DP. He drove the Porsche-powered Ruby Tuesday car for Alex Job Racing. He's a factory BMW driver, and he's done exactly what has been asked of him since climbing aboard the BMW-powered Riley for Chip Ganassi's team. Mark Patterson here, putting a move on JC France.
Great stuff there. Mark Patterson really in the groove. He gets that 23 car up to the 2nd spot. Meanwhile, Joey Hand up front had a little bit of lockup going down into turn 1, but now he's taken off. Look at this action here, the 45 in the mix of it as well. That car is bionic fast here this weekend.
Patrick Long there getting a little physical, trying to push his way through and trying to get yet another lap back. They went down some 18 laps, so it's a long way back.
That's exactly what they have to do, though. They have no choice. That's the cards they've been dealt so far. They're going to have to just play this whole 24 hour just running like the qualifying times. Every single time they can get a lap back, they've got to get it.
And that has Max Angelelli behind the wheel. Cal, have a look at this contact a few moments ago. Check this out. It's going to be between the 10 and the 60. You're riding with Angelelli.
On board with Angelelli, the 60 car up in front of Mark Goosens. Not going to make it easy for you to pass, but very late there down to the inside. More contact, and it's certainly been through the wars, that 10 car here today. And the Goose is behind the 60. What a stunning driver lineup they have there with Oz Negri, John Pugh.
I didn't see the bullseye on that 10 car, but it must be there. Uh-oh, 86 is off ways, and full course yellow out again. This is our 8th.
Derek Whitus is behind the wheel of this Mitcham Motorsports Porsche. Derek is one of the men behind Freedom Autosports in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series. Great to see him running in the Rolex GT division, but it's been a tough day for Chris Mitcham's boys and that Porsche team. You may have noticed on that restart as AJ Allmendinger takes the low line, this 6 car here gave Angelelli plenty of room, let him through. He knew that he was on a mission. It wasn't for position. This, however, is for position. This is for the lead of the race. AJ Allmendinger on the low line, gets past Mark Patterson and takes that Ford-powered Dallara to the front.
Mike Shank Racing, 1 and 2.
Boy, oh boy, that is just something else. They have struggled this weekend with the cars, getting them up to speed. The 6 more, actually, but
it's 3 Mike Shank cars all in a row there. Mark Goosens is in the Crown Royal.
He's out of run here. I think he's up to 3rd. I think Shank runs 1, 2, and 3.
Wow.
Take the picture, Mike.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
This is what I was talking about before. Look at this little dice here.
Ow.
That is ugly. Manassian, the meat and the sandwich there.
This is what it looked like from Joey Hand's point of view. There's Nick Manassian up ahead. It was both one Action Express car one side, one the other. Manassian in the middle, and Joey Hand got the full view of it. Antonio Garcia is in trouble in the Spirit of Daytona Coyote.
Big spin up on the banking, the back of the car gone. Don't know what's happened there yet. If it's a suspension failure or something, looked a bit awkward, didn't it, you, Kevin?
Yeah, it really did. Hard to say what initiated it. Not sure if it's another tire issue is blown.
Oh, he's got a rear suspension, right rear just moved back. It's got damage there. I don't know, something broke up on the banking, possibly.
It's all up, so maybe suspension hit. Meanwhile, the 76 is in. He's been through the wars. They got beat around a little bit, so maybe he's feeling something.
That whole rear body section's out there, too. You would have to think they're going to go full course to pick that up unless it happened to land way out of the way somewhere.
This race has been run at a crazy pace, but with plenty of incidents as well. And an enormous amount of contact.
We got left front.
As Manassian is sent, let's see if we can find what went down with this car here. Antonio Garcia, a Rolex 24 winner himself. Got two different replays, Dorsey.
There's that body I was talking about. Look up ahead there. No, I'm sorry. It's something. I'm not sure about that one yet, Calvin. If he just got in there too deep or something broke. It almost looked like it turned. Let's see if we see it here.
That's already
Either
happened.
something broke. The suspension broke and got Garcia up into the wall. Then he did tag the wall and spin back around when the bodywork flies.
I think something broke. You saw it wag the tail. Although it looks like the right rear's not. Yeah, look at the right rear wheel.
Yeah, but he's hit the wall.
Yeah, that's
too.
true.
So what happened first? Chipping in the air.
Did Manassian get a little bit squirrely though, and Garcia took evasive action, which put him up into the marbles, and then that took him into the wall, maybe.
Not conclusive look at that. Let's look at it one more time, Calvin. Right there, he's headed up.
See, Manassian was out in the grass.
He was definitely up a little bit higher coming off there. Whether the racetrack has got some debris up there and Garcia just lost control or something broke.
9th full course yellow here at Daytona International Speedway for the Rolex 24, and the bodywork being picked up on track from the number 90 Spirit of Daytona Chevy Coyote. That was a shame. We still have no answer from the team, no communication from Antonio Garcia. Antonio has taken the car direct to the garage, and as you can understand, all hands are on deck there to rectify that situation while the track gets cleaned up. Never give up, never say die. That's what endurance sports car racing is all about. Despite the setbacks. And speaking of that, the number 4 TRG Porsche.
Again, that's the bus stop. It's the Achilles heel of Daytona. I've always said that.
Be careful. Perpendicular to the racetrack. Woo.
This is one of 5 cars fielded by TRG.
Oh boy.
Wow. This looks like a cup race.
Rush hour traffic.
Oh, easy, boys. Oh, a lot of moving around going on there.
Bryce Miller is in the lead of the GT class in the 48. Brendan Gaughan is in there in the 67. I think Brendan may have actually got to the front. The time they're about to trigger the timing line. Hurley Haywood is in the mix in the 59. Matt Plum is in the 94.
I love this new turn 1 is awesome. With that big entry approach like that, you can go side by side around there, and you never could do that before.
If you get in too deep, though, everyone's scrambling for grip coming off if they're around the outside there, Dorsey. So it gives you room to get away with it, but it's hard to make the move.
Quick update on the top 10 in the Daytona prototype class at the moment. The 5 Action Express car. Remember, Action Express are the defending champs here at the Rolex 24. So all looking good at the moment. Joey Hand is behind the wheel of the 01. Mark Wilkin in the 55 Level 5 BMW. And then Mark Blundell is behind the wheel of the 23 Machine for United Autosports. And then Max Pappas is in the mix behind AJ Allmendinger as well. Let's bring up GT. Let's show you who is there. And Bryce Miller in the 48. Paul Miller Racing Porsche is doing well over Brendan Gaughan, the NASCAR Craftsman truck regular. Hurley Haywood is third in the famous 59. Matt Plum, then Sylvain Tremblay, and Tom Long is in the mix as well for Dempsey Racing. A nice little reward there for all of his hard work and as far as Mazda Racing is concerned. Here is the overall leader, Buddy Rice. Right behind him is Patrick Long. Yes, in terms of the race, he is a million miles behind, but he is making up time 1 lap at a time.
He is. He's now 16 laps behind the leader, Buddy Rice. They were 18. They've made up 2. Pat goes the long way around. Look at this. And now Joey Hand get a run on Buddy Rice for the lead of this race. Here comes the Ganassi machine.
Tucked up, good draft, and that's early on the banking. They're just now coming up to speed. They'll get up to 5th gear right around the corner here. 45 is gone, boys. It's picking up 3 laps now. Pat Long is flying. Let's see if we can do anything on top end here.
5 cars pretty strong down these straightaways.
Yeah, man.
Porsche Power versus BMW Power. Action Express versus Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabates. 2 guys here with deep roots to go-karting and are still very heavily involved in the karting industry, showing their skills at the top level of sports car racing right here, right now.
This is where Joey's going to have to be patient because down the straightaways, the 5-car Buddy Rice is able to pull it out a little bit. So if he's going to make a move, will need to do it in traffic or on this infield section.
The fireworks off. The fireworks have been going for a long time, though. They've been on since 3:30 this afternoon. And keep an eye on the 0-2 of Jamie Mack. The reigning Daytona 500 winner is doing good work, and he's not far away from getting his lap back if he can get by his teammate and race leader Buddy Rice. Here's the GT leader, Bryce Miller, doing a super job. These guys had a frustrating early part of the weekend with diff problems and some other mechanicals. They had a little contact problem as well, but the Marquis Jet Porsche is doing a nice job.
Got a handy 9-second lead on Brendan Gaughan right now, who's in 2nd place. That's pretty good after that restart.
The GT field this year is a lot different. Typically, there's a Pro-Am driver in one of these GT cars, which will normally bring you back to the pack, but there are so many strong driver lineups, including the 48 this year. They're going to keep pushing that goalpost further away.
Brendan Gaughan learned a ton about sports car racing when he competed in the Grand Am Rolex Series at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve at Montreal with Andy Lally. He loved it. He couldn't wait to get back with TRG and in a Porsche.
Watch this, on board with Joey Hand. Buddy Rice up ahead. See how much Buddy can take him down the straightaway as we go here, down into turn 1.
That 5 is strong.
Jamie Mack is close behind Joey in the other sister Ganassi car.
Puts it back in the brake zone, gets tucked back up.
Some of that could be downforce. If the 01 has run a bit more downforce, it'll give you a bit more braking ability and certainly lose out down the straightaway, but the 5 car is strong. Buddy doing a great job out front.
Bryce Hand, Mark Wilkin. We can't forget about the young Canadian in level 5. He's actually running third in the race. Then Mark Blundell, then AJ Armendinger. Quick reminder, coming up in just a few minutes' time, it is the NASCAR Toyota All-Star Showdown live from Irwindale in California. Rick Allen and the gang will be out there. They're looking forward to that one. And that is coming up right after we say farewell from the World Center of Racing. We'll be back. We're going to grab a few hours of sleep. We'll be back at 9 tomorrow morning. That's Eastern, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. Will you be up in time, Doss?
Well, I'll be up, and I hope it looks just like it does right now tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Yeah, this next part is often where we lose quite a few competitors during the nighttime hours. Let's hope we still have a full and exciting field to come back to tomorrow morning. We hope you've enjoyed part 1. Come back at 9 tomorrow morning here on Speed for part 2, where we take you to the checkered flag and beyond. On behalf of the entire Speed team, we'll see you tomorrow.
The sun is up over the eastern horizon at Daytona Beach, Florida. Fans are rolling out of their tents and motorhomes, grabbing some breakfast and getting ready for the battle that is to come, because we still have a long way to go in the 49th annual Rolex 24 at Daytona, live on Speed. Here's a look at our running order in the Daytona prototype class. Scott Pruitt leading the way for Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabatis over Bert Frizzell in the number 5 car. Those two Action Express cars, the 5 and the 9, have been at or near the front all night long. And of course, each of these cars has a great story to tell. There's our second page, including our GT class leader, Tom Long, in the number 40 car, owned by actor, racer Patrick Dempsey, who's on the driver's strength and has an opportunity to make a little history of his own here at Daytona with a possible victory. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha, along with David Hobbs. We said it at the top of the show, David. It's hard to overstate the dedication of these crews to getting through this race. We are now 16, 17 hours into the race. There's been a tremendous story. Teams cycling up to the top, dropping laps down, coming back. It's been fabulous to watch.
Well, that's been the big thing, Bob. At the top of the show, you know, we were saying you can't afford to get a lap down in modern 24-hour racing because it's so hard to get it back. The cars are so evenly matched. But we've seen the 02 and the 01, for instance, come in for changed gearboxes. They've changed splitters. They've run into people. They've been banging around. They've been 1 lap down, 2 laps down, and they've come back. And here they are in the lead again. The same with the Action Express cars. They've been up and down. Everybody's been up and down incredibly today. And still, the top 6 cars are all on the same lap. 17 seconds separates the top 6 cars after 17 and a half hours of racing. It doesn't get much better than that. And of course, Patrick Dempsey, our film star hero, leading the GT class, whereas he qualified not very well, and they've gradually come up through. The BMW that was leading fell out early on, or fell a long way back. So it's been a fascinating race, but boy, there's been some spectacularly good driving, and there's been, quite frankly, some pretty iffy, poor driving as well.
It's been very aggressive. Now, we're not on record pace in terms of speed and distance. We'll show you why in just a moment. But we are on some other record pace. For example, we've had 12 leaders thus far. We had 13 all of last year's race. We're right at the edge of that now. 46 lead changes. The record is 53, and so on. You get the idea. This race is going down flat out, and we have a lot of story to tell over the next 7 hours here on Speed. Right? Just moments after we left you at 10 p.m. Eastern last night, the GT class leading BMW from Turner Motorsports hit the garage area. Boris said, going to work with the crew to try to identify and cure a leak. In fact, Boris even picked up some tools, went to work himself.
Yeah, Bender there, just adding a helping hand. I'm sure the mechanics really appreciated that.
They weren't alone. Further down the garage area in the Daytona prototype class, Rafael Matos was in for repairs due to an incident. Where else? In the backstretch chicane.
Trying to get the laps back, and I was just pushing hard, but trying to keep my pace, and I broke into the bus stop, and just trying to avoid a spin out, I went straight on a runoff area, and there was a mountain of dirt there.
Meanwhile, car owner Bob Stallings could only watch as his crew made extensive repairs to one of the pre-race favorites.
Well, looks like somebody ran into Alex and busted off one of the headers. So we're going to have to replace both headers, both mufflers, and go back out there.
Just a few of the stories of mechanical woe up and down the pit lane during the darkness. On track, we had a new leader in GT at about 1:30 in the morning. as the number 40 car moved to the lead, and I'm sure Patrick Dempsey felt a lot better about that red eye from Utah back to Daytona. They remain the class leaders. Juan Pablo Montoya declined to talk to the press, driving with his usual aggressive style, did some damage to the car, breaking the splitter.
This is one of those instances, Bob, where I was telling you about, the in and out of the garage, to lose a lap here and a lap there, but still and all, here they are, back on the lead lap, and they were leading just before their last pit stop. So obviously they're going to fight to the bitter end in this team.
An 8-minute stop. That is a very, very good team, and they are back in contention. 3:30 a.m., halfway point. In his 37 previous starts in this race, Hurley Haywood has won 6 times, but he's also seen his share of mechanical difficulty, and that was the case in the wee hours of the morning. A leak in his 59 Brumos Porsche. But true to form, the team got the car back underway. They are still in the race. And then Mother Nature stepped in. Around 5:30 a.m., fog. The warm air over the land met the cool breeze over the sea. A very dense fog at times, so the yellow flag came out. Full course caution for 2 hours and 45 minutes, which has taken us below record pace at this point. But as I said, we've got a long way to go. We may yet see a new record for average speed and distance. There's the current situation. Scott Pruitt up front, going for yet another overall win for Ganassi Racing. Tom Long in the number 40 car leads the GT class. You see the laps complete, and we're still on, as I mentioned, a very quick pace with a long way to go and lots of lead changes. Here are the cars out of the race. Only 2 in the Daytona prototype class, 10 in GT, including some teams that had a share of the early lead. But that's just the way it goes at Daytona. You're a hero 1 minute, and you're a zero the next.
Absolutely, Bob. There's no doubt about it. And talking about a record pace, Scott Pruitt's last lap was a 1:40.9, just right on pole position time almost.
Here's the number 10 SunTrust car, Max Angelelli behind the wheel. Now, a moment ago, he had some difficulties on the backstretch chicane. Let's take another look. You'll see Max on the backstretch. Look ahead. You'll see a GT car has straight lined the chicane and stopped. So Max is going to stop, right?
Wrong. Whoa. Didn't quite manage to pull that off. That is the rule of the chicane. If you miss the first left right, you can't just drive straight through at full speed. You've got to go and stop. But it's obviously very, very slippery up there. This car, the 30 car, boy, we've seen this car in trouble right from the beginning of the race. He was one of the first cars that took an off excursion up at the chicane near the bus stop.
This is the Racer's Edge Motorsports Mazda. Scott Redditch behind the wheel right now. He had a big off in the early laps of this race.
At the same time, the bus stop has been absolutely the spot of the weekend. I mean, seen so many people go off there. It's quite incredible. Mostly going in, mostly in the first left right. Although a couple are coming out to the 90 car just before we went off the air, slammed the wall back down. But this looks like a pretty serious water issue. And of course, you can't put, it's very difficult to put the water in unless you've got a pressurized system in the pits to force it in. There's no way you can get water in there.
On board with Juan Pablo Montoya. Here's a look at the weather conditions. Note that at the green flag, it was 72 degrees, an absolutely gorgeous day here in North Florida. But during the night, it dipped to 41 degrees Fahrenheit. So we've had a 31-degree temperature swing thus far in the race. And David, that really complicates things for the teams.
Very much so, Bob. The car setup goes away, changes completely. You know, when you look at the way a typical NASCAR or even a Formula One race goes in just a short period of time, the track changes a lot. Well, imagine how much it changed with such a huge temperature swing, which has made it very difficult for Continental Tire in their first big event. It's one of those things that's been very difficult for them to accomplish, but it's actually worked out extremely well. The tire seems to have done a great job. There's no doubt about it. These guys, whoop, there's some debris down there. That looks like looking at another light caution flag, I think.
A bit of trash that got run over. Well, this team is a great story thus far in this race, coming back to take the lead, and now they have the risky business of trying to hang on for the last 6 hours of the race. On board with our overall and Daytona prototype class leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, the 02 BMW Riley for Chip Ganassi.
And he is an Iron Man. All these guys at the front who are going fast are absolute. You got to think these guys qualified at about a 140.0 on a very clean track on Friday, and here they are running around in 42. Scott Pruitt's last lap before he came in for his pit stop was a 40.9, which was right down there in qualifying time. And the track is now covered in grime and grit and clag, just generally stuff all over the place, and they're still doing 41s and 42s.
On board with the sister car, Memo Rojas of Mexico in the 01 BMW, lapping right on Montoya's pace.
Also, we saw those mechanics, asleep in the pits, and the drivers have been up the same amount of time, and it's very tough to maintain your concentration. And although we were just told that there's a lot of GT cars less on the track than there was before, there's still enough traffic out there to make life very exciting, especially when you can't see it in that little particular spot right there.
Rojas runs the full schedule with Scott Pruitt. They are the most successful teammates in Grand Am road racing history. Scars of war there on the 9 car. This is Joao Barbosa, part of the race winning team last year for Action Express. Got a little bit of damage, but he is in 3rd place on the lead lap, about 42 seconds behind leader Montoya. He's lapping slightly slower, about 1.2 seconds slower that last time by.
Well, of course, all these bits of bodywork, they're very important aerodynamically. And if you lose a bit of grip, that can lead to a whole set of circumstances. The grip sort of goes away, you try a bit harder, that makes the tire work harder, so then your tire starts to go away because you haven't got the grip, and then of course you've got to look at that time we were looking at out of the pits. Are you losing more time by keeping going, aerodynamically challenged, or would you be better to come in and make the change? And that's one of those things they've got to start working on in the next 6 hours.
And there's the 4th place car going team by team. The 2 Ganassi cars up front and the 2 Action Express cars. This is the number 5 machine, Bert Frizzell in. He too lapping at the pace of his teammate, but slower than what Montoya and Rojas are doing ahead of them on the road. That's a situation they're going to have to reverse.
Well, they have a bit of damage on the left tail there.
This is such a challenge, getting through these 24 hours in the conditions. Yes, Le Mans is also a 24-hour, but the race in France is so much different. We have a spinner out there. This is
That
the 40.
is the class leader.
Tom Long,
That
the GT
is
leader.
One thing you can't afford to do.
That's down in turn 6, I believe.
Yep, that is. He's got to wait for everybody to come. Has he stalled it? Is it running or has he stalled it?
Can't tell. I would imagine that's got to be easy to do down there in 6. It's an odd kind of corner with different radii the closer you get. Apparently the engine is not running. Resetting the switches, hit the starter button.
Oh dear. Well, bad news for Dempsey, good news for Kevin Buckler.
Let's have another look at what happened to it.
This is coming around
the hairpin.
Western Horseshoe, down to the turn 6.
A little wheel spin there.
I think it just got away from him.
Just lost grip. And then lost the fire.
Yeah.
Patrick Dempsey looks on. Chris Neville, what can you tell us?
Well, Bob, part of the problem is radio communication. They can hear him, but he can't talk back. I'm sorry. They can talk to him, but he's not able to talk back to the crew, so they do not know what is wrong with the car. The team is on standby, waiting for it to hopefully get back to pit lane. But as you can see, Patrick Dempsey obviously very worried about his car leading this race and hoping that Tom Long can at least get it here so they can service it.
Man, we see it so often here at Daytona. You're waiting for the final bell, and you get punched in the stomach.
Yeah, it was about this time of day. Then I was in the GT40 leading comfortably. Came in for a pit stop. It was, I know it's morning and sun was shining, and the team manager signaled me to get out, and I said, what for? And he said, you got to get out. When I got out, the fuel was just running straight through the bottom of the car. And here comes the second spot, and now takes the lead.
Andy Lally in the TRG car. Kevin Buckler will be looking on.
Caution coming up. Oh, what's that?
That's the number 30 Racer's Edge
Boy,
car,
that's that
still
30
smoking.
car.
Looking like a steam locomotive. This would be sweet redemption for Andy Lally, who took pole for the race, only to fail post-qualifying inspection when the rear wing was found to be 1 millimeter in the wrong position. So the time was thrown out. He went to the back of the field. But Lally couldn't have felt any worse than Tom Long probably does right now as he waits for the tow back to the pits. A lot of work to do now. We'll take a break and return. Plenty of action to come in the closing hours of the Rolex. Back at Daytona, leader in Juan Pablo Montoya parks the 02 Telmex BMW. He has not gotten out of the car. And it is looking clean and green. That's one good-looking BMW compared to one that just headed for the garage a moment ago. We'll give you a look. There is the number 36. Being shared by Taylor Hawkward, Chris Cumming, the number 32 of David Chang, Tom Papadopoulos, Ryan Lewis, Max Hyatt. Look at it. That's the new Targa version, I think.
I've never seen that before. The roof and hood gone.
Well, it is sad because that car is trying to raise funds for Texas Rangers pitcher C.J. Lewis's personal foundation. He's a guest of driver David Chang this weekend. He's been around the pits. And I hope they've had a successful weekend despite the redesign of that car. Now there is Tom Long in the number 40. Recall that he spun and lost the fire down in turn 6. They started to tow him back to the pits. He was able to bump start the car. And now we have the damage to assess. He is shown in 4th place in class. So he fell from 1st to 4th. And he may have lost an extra lap when he was towed past the timing stripe. But we'll have to wait and see if that happens. Right now, there's no question he's 4th. The question is how far behind the class leader he is. Ooh, are they having clutch issues?
It could be.
That might have contributed to the spin if he went for a gear before entering turn 6. And it caught him out. Oh, boy.
To fire up.
Chris Neville, can you add?
Yeah, you can see the team still trying to push the car down the racetrack. Besides the normal service, they were checking the battery in the car. They were checking the clutch fluid. They were also checking the starter. And they still don't know exactly what's wrong with that car. They thought they could get him back out on the racetrack, but obviously they're pushing the car behind the wall right now.
And that's how quickly it can all come apart at Daytona.
Yeah, very disappointing because it could be any one of those things that Chris has just mentioned. The starter motor might not be working. The alternator could be failing to charge the battery. All sorts of things could go.
Back live at Daytona, on board with Juan Pablo Montoya. Clear track in front of him. We're 1 lap from the restart, and it was a hairball if you are working for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Watch this. Memo Rojas with the blue nose, followed just inches behind by Montoya as the flag waves, and watch them down into turns 1, 2, and 3.
Juan Pablo, oh, well, Rojas gives a bit of a bobble there, but I think he was helped by...
And Montoya instantly looking left and right.
I tell you, look at this, goes down into turn 3, goes to the outside, then the inside, and stays there, forcing Rojas to go wide on the exit there. He didn't want to go over that curve. That allows Max Pappas in the number 9 car to get right alongside him as well.
Now let's go on board with the 02. Remember, Juan Pablo Montoya was told by the team to tone it down a little bit. This is his teammate ahead of him.
Yeah, this is toning it down now, Bob. So he goes to the outside, gets a good line there. Rojas is trying to block the inside, but he doesn't know. Juan Pablo just goes boom down there. We saw that very early on in the race with the 2 team cars, 23. Martin Bundle tried that with his teammate, but once Juan Pablo got by, off he went.
Look at the gap he's already opened up over Rojas.
Rojas now being hounded by the number 9 car with Max Pappas, who's no pussycat either.
Absolutely. Yeah, that team's a great story. Meanwhile, this is David Donahue, who has spun at the chicane. And it appears he has stalled as well.
Oh boy, if you remember, he was just being interviewed, 45 minutes ago, saying they've kept way out of trouble, the bodywork's still undamaged, and
didn't want to jinx themselves.
Didn't want to jinx himself, and here he is down at that chicane. Just look at the muck and the rubble and the dirt on the road there. Just a complete shambles down there.
Looks like the engine's running, but he's having trouble getting going. Might be a clutch issue again. There you see the end of the incident.
Yeah.
He was braking for the second right-hander
Because
there.
you can seal that dirt on the road there. Very difficult to get it without clipping some of that dirt.
What can you add, Chris?
Well, Bob, during that last pit stop, I saw the 5 team having to push that car to get it going out of pit lane because of the clutch issue that David Donahue was talking about. Listening to him on the radio right now, he can't even get the car started. So he's first got to get that car started before he can even worry about trying to get it rolling.
Oh boy, yeah. Another issue that's just such a mind-blowingly difficult one to get overcome are clutches, because these clutches are small diameter, so that they're very easy to stall the engine because you've got no centrifugal force keeping the thing going, you know. And it's like a bit of a fire underneath there.
A little bit of a fire toward the gearbox end of the car. This is the V8 Porsche engine. Not the favorite effort of the Porsche factory, who are wedded to their flat 6 concept. But the car won the race last year as the yellow comes out for the 19th time in the race. Lozano Brothers Porting, long-time engine builders for sports car racing, prepare these V8s. Right now they have a big problem. Thus far, the 1 Series M BMW Coupe pace car here at Daytona International Speedway has covered unofficially 114 laps.
That would make it 36 overall in the field.
Right, exactly.
46, sorry.
This is David Donahue in the 5 car from Action Express. Back in the garage area. Was running 4th when he stopped in the chicane and could not restart.
Because of that clutch trouble that he'd been talking to Chris about earlier on. So just, you know, he said, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to jinx myself. There it is, he spun in the chicane and all that dirt and clag that's gathered down there. I've never seen the track so dirty.
Boy, so in the little over an hour we've been on the air, we've seen 2 top 5 cars suddenly hit trouble. And you can be sure we will hit more. Chris Neville.
Well, David, just like you said, David Donahue lost it in the chicane on his own. He's coming by in pit lane right now, headed back out onto the racetrack. So he apologized to the team, felt very bad about that, but when he lost it there and the car came to a stop, because that clutch issue, he couldn't get it going, and also the battery is dead. So they got a flat tow back to the garage. They hooked up a jump battery to get the car started and then push him and get him going again. And if we go under caution again, then they're probably going to change batteries in the car, but there's still not much they can do about that clutch.
Meanwhile, Juan Pablo Montoya seems to be swanning away in the distance there. With, of course, that white nose, as we've heard, that's their 3rd nose of the night. And most of them have been damaged by Juan Pablo, so running out of noses, and we've still got 6 hours to go nearly.
Now we got a train forming here. Behind Pappas, you've got Rojas, Allmendinger, now Martin Brundle, Nick Janssen, Mark Wilkins, all closing up.
Boy. There's the 10 car with Ryan Briscoe behind the wheel. They've had a checkered day, unfortunately for them. Board with Ryan Briscoe right now. Goes past
John Pugh in the 60
car, John Pugh.
Our sounds good.
Just clip the curb, just nicely in there. You see all that stuff waiting, lurking.
It's Ryan Dial up ahead, one of last year's race winners. Manual gearboxes, and yet those shifts are so quick.
The sequential boxes are very quick. Getting a bit of a tow here down into turn 1. Is Ryan going to have a go as they go into turn 1? He's setting himself low. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That could be difficult. Oh, did they touch?
Well, I think there was a little bit of a hip check.
I think there was a bit of a hip check there. Ryan Briscoe going low into turn 1. Pulled it off, got by it.
Perhaps he has his eye on the clock and he's decided it's time to start moving forward. Briscoe in 8th. Running for a former race-winning team.
The 8 car in 11th.
think about it for a second. There is Montoya, who continues to stretch that gap over third place Memo Rojas.
Well, Max Pappas got by Rojas, but I think Max is running just a little bit off the pace, which of course is great for Juan Pablo, who's doing, his last lap was a 42.1, Max's was a 43.1, and everybody behind Max is doing 43 something, 43.1, 43.2, 43.1, 43.7.
Okay,
so
Rojas,
they're all desperate to get past him.
Drawing up close in the draft, Rojas ducks out, and decides against it.
You just can't risk being too abreast in that chicane area now. There's just too much stuff lying around on the track. You've got to have a clear run through there. The car of AJ Allmendinger too lurking just right there behind Rojas. Here comes the 55 car.
Mechanical diversity is the theme here.
GT car in the middle of the mixture, that's the 40 car.
It's the Dempsey car, the former class leader, still shown in fourth in class. Joe Foster now driving.
Terrible place to catch him up in that turn 1 and 2 complex, because the road just has a subtle bit of movement there. Difficult for the GT car to move out of the way without compromising his own safety, really. Stays wide as they come down to the very fast left-hand king. Flat out in the DP cars, bit of a lift in the GT cars. There's the 45 car there, which of course was on the pole and in York's hands had such an incredible first double stint. Coming in for his pit stop, 15 seconds. Whoa, there he gets a bit loose, but they've had a lot of trouble. They were victims of some of their own driving, unfortunately. Damaged the car a couple of times.
Look at the mechanical diversity up in this group. We've got Porsche V8, Porsche Flat 6, Ford, BMW, Chevrolet.
All very evenly matched.
I told you last night about the news this weekend. Ferrari will bring a purpose-built 458 Italian GT car to Grand Am Racing, and we're hearing rumors of other manufacturers, but Ferrari is confirmed.
The Flat 6 in the 45 car is allowed to rev just a little bit more than the V8s because it's a smaller displacement, and they're also allowed to have a 6-speed gearbox, which I think around here helps them quite a bit. But some torque, some of the shorter circuits where torque is going to be really paramount, they may not have quite enough oomph.
Rafael Matos in that black 95 coming under attack from Jimmy Johnson, the 5-time consecutive NASCAR Sprint Cup champion.
Boy, they thread themselves through that turn 1 and 2. Here goes York, going to go around the outside of Jimmy Johnson. He's going to try it. It's going to be difficult on the exit of the International Horseshoe here because he's going to run wide. Pulled it up. Did not pull it off. 10 car, Ryan Briscoe right behind him still.
Back at Daytona earlier, we were talking about aggressive race drivers. You can't pick one out. They're all aggressive. Watch Memo Rojas on Max Pappas as they head up into the banking.
Boy, he just gets off that corner just a hair. Look at that. They touched there. And I think Matt, I'm not sure they touched him again, but I think Max finally gave up. But boy, oh boy, that was a hair-raising pass.
Watch this from outside.
24-hour race.
Yeah, I mean, this could have thrown both cars into a spin.
Absolutely, it could have done.
Just, come on, coming through. Oh, he did hit him again.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
One for luck, sunshine.
Remember years ago when Grand Am got a trademark piece of video, it was Max Pappas and was it Magnussen or somebody just went around a racetrack just banging each other everywhere. And speaking of aggression, thy name is Montoya. But right now, Juan Pablo has his own piece of racetrack as he continues to expand his lead just a little bit with each passing lap. Now, Memo Rojas really has begun to light the fire. Watch this move through the kink, headed for the west hairpin.
Ooh! Boy, oh boy, talk about threading the needle. All it needed was one of those GT cars to make the slightest move, and that would have been...
Pardon me, boys, playing through. He runs second to his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya. Now a full 7 seconds behind his teammate.
And he lost 5 of those when he was stuck behind Max Pappas. Since he's got round Max, he's been doing comparable times to Juan Pablo.
60 came to pit road. Michael Valiente had taken over just a short time ago, and when he came down pit road, I noticed that the splitter is dragging. It looks very loose. I don't know if it's a splitter issue or perhaps just one of the supports, but the crew going to work right now. We've seen a lot of splitter problems out there. Guys, I'll tell you as well, the 23, the sister car that's running so well, the whole right side of the splitter has delaminated and been run off on that curbing out there. These guys have to be careful. These cars, as robust as they are, after 24 hours pounding around Daytona, they can be fragile.
Part of that, again, is the lowering of the ride height because this racetrack is so smooth, Calvin. Those curbs are a lot taller. They will not fit underneath the front of this car.
Yeah, and the curbs, but they're nicely designed. I mean, if you just clip them, like you can hear from the onboards, and you just sort of like hit those rumble strips, no problem. But if you try and eat them too much, get caught in traffic, have to eat up more of that curb, then it will do some damage to these front splitters.
This car doesn't have many marks on it.
It's been an outstanding run for the 23. Martin Brundle, Mark Blundell, Mark Patterson, and Zach Brown. Martin Brundle, BBC lead commentator this year, is thoroughly enjoying his return to Daytona International Speedway. Never driven a Daytona prototype before. It's been over 10 years since he has driven in serious level motorsport. But boy, he hasn't forgotten how to do it.
Okay, give it up to the old boys.
Yeah. He was very excited. He talked about the physical strain of driving this race, and it's one thing to be in the gym and do a few laps in testing, but he said on extended runs, he's really feeling it up in his bicep area, just holding the car through the banking and the steering input that involves. So there's nothing like seat time. You can spend time in the gym and think you're ready to go, but until you get behind the wheel, Dorsey, you just never know the physical effects it's going to have on your body.
I totally agree with you. And I've said that all through my racing career to people, you know, the young guys that go to the gym and so forth. What's better than the gym is the car. You go in there, if you can drive every day like we did when we were working as instructors, that's the best thing you can do. It gives those muscles that you use 100% workout. You can't just quit when you're tired in a race car. And I guarantee you, these guys are tired.
For sports car fans in Ohio, you should be very proud of your man Mike Shank and his staff, because this was the car, this was the number 6 car that virtually burnt to the ground at Watkins Glen last year. Then they had to rally. They had to get that Delara from Brad Frizzell, who is the car owner, Bert and Brian's father. They got that together just to keep their full-time season alive with Michael Valiente and Brian Frizzell at the time. That is the number 6 car that's running here today. Then during the winter, the crew rebuilt this entire car to get it ready to be a 3rd car as part of the Mike Shank Racing stable. Richard Dean is the co-owner of United Autosports with Zach Brown. He's a former driver himself, and he is running this car for the 23 along with team manager Eric Peterson, who's overseeing all 3 Mike Shank cars. And just an update on the 60 Mike Shank Ford. It's got an 11 lap, make it now 10 lap buffer on the 45 of Patrick Long. So they are still, even though they're stationary in the pits, they are still in no danger of losing that top 10 position for a while yet.
Not an easy fix to switch that.
What could have been for the number 90 Spirit of Daytona Chevy Coyote. Antonio Garcia right here last night avoided hitting Nick Manassian, got up into the marbles, clouded the wall, and that was basically the main chunk of the story for these guys. They've been playing catch up ever since.
Oh, the right rear suspension completely off. Whole body work, the entire back body work, everything. Good job by the boys to put that thing back together.
They got it back out there, and just before we went off the air last night, they were changing the whole front splitter section as well. So when you go for a ride, Paul Edwards had a spin coming through the bus stop chicane. It's amazing how an hour or two later suddenly doesn't have some effect on the race car, and you're going to those durability issues that you need to avoid to get victory lane here.
We fully appreciate at home when you're watching endurance sports car racing that it's a little difficult to know who is where at any one time. Here's a good snapshot for you. You've got the Ganassi duo 0201, one Pablo Montoya, Joey Hand leading the way from Martin Brundle. And then Max Pappas for Action Express. That's the defending race winning car, the number 9. And then 6, Justin Wilson, Nick Johnson. So you've got the top 6 cars all on the lead lap. It's exciting stuff. The likes of Mark Wilkins for level 5, Ryan Briscoe, who is flying at the moment, David Donahue, they've all still got a chance of clawing their way back. It's a little more difficult for the 10th place, Michael Valiente and Mike Shank Racing. So we flip over and we show you right through 11 through to 20. You pick up Patrick Long. It's a real shame. That's going to be one of the stories. The brutal speed of that 45 Flying Lizard car, and they had that off, they put them in the garage, and that was their race done. We get our GT leader there. The 67 of Wolf Hensler. It's a TRG 1-2 at the moment from Paul Miller Racing. Rob Bell on debut here at Daytona. Certainly not on debut in sports car racing. He's a multi-time champion, but first time here to Florida. And then you got Charles Espenlaub in the 40, what could have been. However, it's not all said and done. They're still close enough with the amount of hours left in this race. And Lucas Luer in the famed 66.
There we see John Fogarty, the 99 car. The Gainesco machine had numerous problems, most of it coming from being clouded out on the racetrack. So they're really in recovery mode. They just need to get some points coming out of this race and look ahead to the rest of the championship. Mamil Gidley in the 42 car and a pretty strong run in the Salins machine. That's last year's winning car here from Daytona. The number 70 from Speed Source got sold to the Salins team. Now runs under the number 42.
One of the GT favourites, the 57, a lot further down the order than where they would like to be seen. And then you've got Boris Said there in the 94 Turner Motorsport BMW. They had dramas, they had gearbox issues that put paid to their chances. However, as we heard from team principal Will Turner earlier, we are going to finish this race because that is one of the highlights. Very fast Porsche with Nick Tandy behind the wheel there. They brutalised that car throughout the night and were unable to finish. And then you go all the way through to the Mitcham Motorsports Porsche right at the back of the pack. So there are many and varied stories right up and down pit lane. This is one of them, Brian, the 99 Gainesco car. What do you see?
Well, it looks like a brake bleed going on here in the back end, trying to make sure they get all of the air out of the brake system that's on the back half of the car. Whenever you get air in there, you don't end up with the same hydraulic pressure, so the pedal feels low. So right now, we know that the Gainesco team has struggled with brake problems throughout this event. Right now, just bleeding the rear brakes, and they'll get it back out there. Calvin made a very good point a moment ago. At some point in time, the teams have to decide, yeah, we want to finish this race because of pride, but don't forget, we've got 11 more races to go because there's a championship at the end of the season.
You know, Calvin, I don't know if it's due to the repaving here and the fact that the speeds at the end of the two straightaways are higher, but we've had an unusual amount of brake problems, something you don't normally see here at Daytona. Or in the past you haven't seen, but not just this car. I mean, there's been several cars had very major brake issues with pedals going to the floor. Juan Pablo had it. You know, everybody's had these brake issues. And I wonder if it's not just because of the added speed on those two hard brake zones in the bus stop and in turn one.
Yeah, certainly talking to a lot of the brake. They said the brake wear went up, and basically you have a window. How long can you run a set of pads for during the course of one of these events? Now, last year, the number was around about 16 hours. So you needed to do one change, but it gave you from 8 hours in to 16 hours in to get that change done. This year, they're saying it's more like 12 hours, 12, 13 hours, and they didn't want to lock themselves into having to do that change right in the middle of the race, so they had to go for two changes, get one done early. But I think with that fog that we had that rolled in the early hours, most of the big teams would have got that last brake change done, and hopefully they're in good shape to go the rest of the way.
Car Warriors is an appropriate term for the Salins Mazda. Team Salin, never say die, and unfortunately, although it doesn't look like it, this is a new car for the team. This was last year's Rolex 24 race-winning GT car, and it's campaigned by Memo Gidley and Wayne Nonamaker. The entire team is Will Nonamaker, Joe Salin, and Joe Nonamaker, who is the father, and Memo Gidley is in this car for the entire year, along with Wayne Nonamaker. And although it hasn't worked out for these guys right here, right now, I count these guys in the race when we get to the sprint mode as well.
Absolutely. Memo's a real star, and he's found a great home here. Got great engineers on board. Catherine Wallace Crawford is engineering this team this year, and unfortunately they had that hit in the early going. Memo behind the wheel. They've patched it up, Dorsey, and still running strong, and it's really great to see this stable added to the whole Mazda group, and really contributed to that manufacturers championship last year.
Speaking of aerodynamically challenged, the other Mazda, the 70.
I thought you were talking about yourself.
This one's been hurt pretty good on the whole backside of it, taped together. It's been a war out there overnight. Probably nice and cool in there, but I don't know about that exhaust. Might be coming back in there and getting them too.
Yeah, you got to worry about the fumes and stuff like that. That can really knock these drivers out very, very quickly. But you know, you're out here to win. I mean, this team has won 2 of the last 3 years at Sylvain's home race based here in Florida, and he'd love to win another one. But at the end of the day, there's a championship on the line, as Brian was discussing earlier, and you just have to keep grinding it out. Even though you're many laps down, you're tired, you're fatigued, keep going.
4 laps down for the 70. 4 laps down on class leading car TRG's Wolf Hensler. So although it's bruised and battered, 4 laps down with 4 hours to go. Anything can still happen. The GT order is like this. Wolf Hensler, Patrick Pilet in a TRG 1-2, Rob Bell for Paul Miller Racing, Charles Espenlaub, the best of the Mazdas, Lucas Luer, John Potter, Lee Keane, and then Jonathan Bomarito, who we just saw. And dramas for the second place GT car. This is Patrick Pilet.
Left front suspension is broken.
Yep.
That's not a flat. Look at the angle of it. It's now it looks straight. Look at that moving around.
Oh no.
Broken an upright or
yeah.
A-frame.
When you look at the clock, 3 3/4 hours to go. That's an hour longer than a normal race in the Rolex series. So there's a lot of things that can happen here in the final few hours of this race.
I think there's a lot of things that can happen here.
Yeah. Hand hasn't done anything silly though. He's tucked in behind Montoya. Montoya got sideways though. That's the face of Chip Ganassi, the man behind the name, and he's saying, come on boys, don't do anything silly. We're going to take this 1-2 all the way home.
This is where the team needs to make a decision. If Montoya is struggling with his car, they need to make a call. Joey's car looks better, let him go.
I agree. Montoya really slipped in that corner, and I think Joey could have gone around, but he's probably been told, give it some room.
Dorse, it's been about the last 15 or so minutes that Joey Hand has slowly been reeling JPM in. He's finally arrived. And now this is the tricky part.
The nice thing is you can see now in the early parts of the race we saw the 01 really wasn't able to pick up the draft and take advantage of it. Now they got that taller gear ratio in. When you pick up the draft, it's really getting ahead of steam here, and he's closing in on JPM, as you can see.
Here we go, the high side for Joey Hand, down into 1. He did this a lap ago. Johnson is doing his best to stay on that lap that he is, but he's making life hard for Montoya.
Montoya just stepped out again. Back of that, the tires on the rear starting to go off, I believe.
More GT traffic up ahead. This will be interesting on the infield, heading towards the horseshoe.
This is where it's then difficult for Joey Hand. You want to be able to take advantage of the GT traffic, maybe delaying Montoya getting back on the power, but you don't want to be so close. Look at that through the kink there. Montoya, great car control. He is one of the best on cold tires and when the tires start to go away a little bit. Now he's got to run on Johnson. He'll try to get down alongside him. Then he's got to thread the needle. GT traffic in the way.
And Team Spencer Mazda in the wrong place at the wrong time. Johnson did a good job. The Stevenson Camaro up ahead. It won't be a factor. The boys should go high. What do you hear, Brian?
Tim Keane on the radio saying if you can pass him clean, go ahead and pass him, but we're going to be stopping in a few laps. Right now he's just saying be patient, take your time. He knows that Joey Hand wants to show what he can do. They also know they need a car to finish this race.
Hey, we've got to update you on the 54 in GT because it's not a happy sign for the Black Swan TRG car. Jamie?
It's not, and you can see they're still on pit road right now. It was a broken shock. Now, it wasn't the entire front suspension, it was just the shock. But when the team went to push it backwards to get back to the garage to do the repair work, they couldn't push it backwards. And the Grand Am rule is you cannot put a car in reverse on pit lane. So they had to run back to the garage, get all of the needed pieces, and actually do the repair work on pit lane. They have that done. The tire's going back on now. But the team says, we really want to have 2 cars finish on the podium. So with the 66 Porsche, what they're doing is switching up the driver lineup. They now have Dominic Barnbacher back in the car. They have had 2 cars on the podium in the last 3 years. A stat they're very proud of. So they're doing everything they can now that this 54 has lost a lot of time.
There is the 67, the Sargent and Lundy TRG Porsche. It's the class-leading car. They have a 1-lap gap over Rob Bell. And a little earlier when Andy Lally jumped out of the car, we saw Spencer Pumpelly, who's just climbed aboard, talking with Andy, and you could tell what they were talking about by the hand gestures. He was saying, just tell me again what you've been doing. This car has no clutch. So they have to get pushed, and then they engage the gear. It's a sequential gear shift, and then they bump it and chug-a-lug out. And Spencer, there he is, just wanted to know that he was absolutely sure how it was working, how was the car, and Andy filled him in.
You could see there he was looking at all the gauges, looking at what RPM he should try and crank the engine to, Dorsey, and then he got the push start and just clicked it into gear and he's away.
And they just need that little push.
We are back at Daytona and well and truly exceeded last year's count of 16 full course cautions. We're under yellow now, and more dramas for the TRG GMG Black Swan Porsche. This was just on pit road with shock troubles, and we'll talk about the shock there for French driver Patrick Pilet. He'll be feeling plenty of it as he makes his way back to pit road. Under yellow, as I mentioned, And we understand, here it is, the Chris Smith Racing Porsche, the 65 Roses entry, supporting the research and helping those children suffering with cystic fibrosis. So the car with Tom Sheehan behind the wheel gets rescued. This will give it a chance for everybody to regroup. If you've just joined us, it's Ganassi 1-2, 0-1, 0-2. Joey Hand, Jamie McMurray at the moment. And McMurray has, whilst climbed aboard the car, has quickly got up to speed very impressively. Mark Blundell in the United Autosports Ford Riley runs third ahead of Christian Fittipaldi, making his Grand Am comeback. And then Nicholas Manassian, the Peugeot factory driver, having his first outing in a Daytona prototype and doing a nice job for Krone. The 6th Dallara for Justin Wilson, and Mike Shank is in the top 6. See you in a moment. Romain Iannetta is the car immediately behind for Starworks, immediately behind Joey Hand. That separates he and his teammate Jamie McMurray. So no immediate threat from McMurray, but Jamie will get round that number 2 Ford-powered Riley very quickly. Green flag flies. We go back to racing with 3 hours, 13 minutes left here at the World Center of Racing.
Jamie McMurray made that easy. He goes around the outside for the lead.
Looking for it, wide, too wide.
Seen that before. It's so inviting. It's wide open down there in turn 1, but there's no grip on the outside. Joey's a little bit more conservative, but he had the grip when he needed it.
That was optimistic, but I liked it.
Check out the 55. That is Mark Wilkins, the young Canadian driver. He's close enough to the front. If he can tag onto these Ganassi guys, he may be able to get a lap back. It is currently the 55 in 8th place, some 3 laps behind our race-leading Ganassi duo.
Yeah, they've had a few dramas. Dropped a couple of laps late last night, but they've kept kicking it around here and getting those laps back. That's the great thing with this new system. We talked about it briefly. Under the yellow caution lap, when you get the lap wave by on the 3rd lap, you can then pit immediately and basically gain a lap on the leaders. So all of these teams that have been digging themselves a little bit of a hole, they've been able to regroup and stay in the game. It's a great new rule change.
It's kept this a very interesting race. It maybe would not have been that way otherwise.
We are very proud each and every year to have drivers from various categories in the sport that we love so much, whether it be road race experts, sports car heroes, IndyCar, NASCAR, F1, whatever it may be. Here are some NASCAR notables and where they are placed. And here are our IndyCar fraternity. Graham Rahal, who hasn't done a huge workload in the 01, but he has done his bit. Obviously the 01 is currently running in 1st place. Not sure how much time EJ Vizo's seen in the 2 either. It's been a bit of a rough go for the Starworks Ford.
Brian Shaw was just calling me on the radio at break there and saying that the 70 car is about to lose everything. They're trying to tape all this bodywork back together, but it's shedding its pieces as it goes. And he's got to be getting the D-cell fumes. When he gets off the throttle and those things burp back, that'll suck all that right inside there with him.
There's certainly no quit in the Speed Source team, but it is amazing to me that the aerodynamic drag that has to be on this car, when you look behind the passenger side door, I think I could literally crawl in that car through the gap that is there because of all the missing body work. Well, maybe I used to be able to crawl into it. These days, maybe not, but a lot of damage, but they're still on track, and off they go.
Go ahead, Brian, take a ride.
Yeah, I'm not sure Brian's rear end would fit through.
He'd get most of the way in.
I said used to.
Did they complain about the fumes at all, Brian? On the
Nobody said anything about that yet, Dorsey. In fact, I guess it's got enough airflow through it that perhaps it's not drawing it back in.
Well, the reason why this team fights so hard, as you heard Brian mention, there is no quit with the Speed Source boys. Sylvain Tremblay and David Haskell and Marcus Shen, the entire team down there. They had a terrible time a couple of years ago with a cracked fuel cell after running over a curb, which really put paid to their efforts. They bounced back last year to win the race, and they will never lie down. They lost the 69 car during the nighttime hours last night. That will really frustrate them, so they're not going to give up if the 70 has a chance of finishing. And another full course yellow.
Number 21. I only had 20 numbers down.
Okay, we're going to see the leaders come in here, because I think with this one, they should be able to just squeak it through, even if we were green on 2 more stops. They're getting a run of about 56 minutes. So by the time we complete, you see a piece of body work there. That will cut a tire down really, really easily.
Well, it's right where they're going to hit it, too.
Someone will hit it for sure.
Good signs here for the 54. It has just returned to pit lane. At the top of the field, of course, there is so much to play for with pit stops coming up with Joey Hand, Jamie McMurray, Blundell and Fittipaldi all on the lead lap. However, Nicholas Manassian is defending a one-lap margin over Justin Wilson for a top 5 position. So watch for that number 6, Mike Shank Delara. It'll be looking for a move. It's the third car in the line there. So they're looking to leapfrog and get back up into the top 5. Ricky Taylor in the 10 SunTrust car. There's a lot to play for there. So too for level 5, Mark Wilkins, Buddy Rice. There's people trying to leapfrog laps here to get themselves into a more prominent position.
And again, looking at the clock, this is the ideal time to split at 56-minute session. You see the 6 cars stay out, the Ganassi cars are in.
What do we see here? What do we see here? Watch closely. The Ganassi boys go to work, and there is a driver change on the 0-2. So McMurray, that was a very short stint. It looks like it might be Scott Dixon. Brian.
Dixon climbing in the 0-2. Joey Hand will stay in the 0-1. Heard him talking to Timmy Keene just a little bit earlier. They said, can you do another stint? He said, I don't know, man. My right foot, it's starting to get burned a little bit. And they asked him. He said, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. Problems, though, on the way out. He hits the right front tire as he leaves the pit box. Dixon climbing in the 0-2. He'll take back off. And for the 9 car, this may be what they need. They wanted to stop under caution to work on that right rear bodywork to see if they can add some more downforce. Let's see if they'll get a chance to do it. No, they won't. The 9 back underway, still without their aerodynamic help.
Wow, that's a disaster right there. The 0-1 hitting that tire will get a penalty. We'll have to come back in and lose all that track position. It's still a good car, but that was a costly error.
Costly error.
Talk about the fatigue factor, not only for the drivers, but also the crews.
And that crewman left that tire right there. Joey couldn't see it. You can't see across the top of those fenders. He had no idea that tire was there.
Unfortunately, the pictures didn't lie. Down into turn 1, Joey Hand leads Scott Dixon. Oh, the Spirit of Daytona car runs wide.
Christian Fittipaldi had to lock it up. He saw a little bubble in front of him, and he locked it up at the same time, but released the brake, so he shouldn't have flat spotted that tire.
Paul Edwards took the 9 to the outside on purpose, let these guys go. That was nice. It's way down in laps.
So Fittipaldi up into the top 3 now. Mark Blundell drops a position to 4th in that 23 car. Defending race winning car, the big number 9, with that V8 Porsche power plant in the back.
Remember, all of these guys are going to get elevated one position when Joey Hand has to make that pit stop.
Oh, trouble here. Auto House Camaro is around backwards, and I don't think he was alone in that.
This is where it can get tricky because Joey needs to serve that penalty, but we see other action and get another yellow flag. It can really just kind of change things up really quickly because you got to wait for green.
That was GM factory driver and former overall race winner Johnny O'Connell behind the wheel of the Flexbox Camaro, trying to get it pointed in the right direction.
You know, Joey will be running as hard a possible lap as he can to try to get whatever positive he can when he comes in for this pit stop. 30 seconds is a long time at speed.
Ideally, you'd like your teammate, Scott Dixon, to just back up the whole field about 30 seconds to give you a buffer, but
not going to happen.
They want to win this race, and they know that one of their strongest competitors is that sister machine, the 01. So let's see what happens here.
Now Joey Hand dives to pit road. Scott Dixon, new race leader. This will feel like forever.
No servicing can be done on the car, and there you see the marshal there, Brian.
And the crew definitely telling him, Joey, all right, we got to stay on these tires. We can't service the car. Don't lock them up on the way in. Don't smoke them too much on the way out because we have to stay on them. From the seat, I know it feels like forever. Joey put his hands up going, come on, guys, let us go. I can tell you the stopwatch that the official's looking at, when it says 30 seconds, he will be released.
Plus the time on pit lane, so even though he had the lead, he lost 30 seconds in the stop there and about 25 seconds driving through pit lane. So the best part of a minute that Joey Hand will now be behind the leaders of this race. He just needs to stay smooth. There's 2 hours, 40 minutes left. Hopefully they can catch another yellow, Doss.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about at the break. He really needs a yellow now to get back in the hunt. I'm not going to say that won't happen with this much time in the race either.
Remember what happened here a year ago. The 01 was in control. It was in command. Justin Wilson was behind the wheel, went through the bus stop chicane, heard a loud bang, thought something broke on the car, brought it to pit lane. The number 9 Action Express car went by them, took the lead, and it stayed like that to the end. Again, this year, the 01 in the lead, and just a silly mistake on pit road, leaving the tire out there and Joey Han hit it. It's not his fault. He couldn't see. He did not know that that tyre was there.
You know what they say about these 24-hour races? Expect the unexpected, because this race can throw you anything.
Might have lost the splitter. It was broken before. It was gapped.
Like it's delaminated, like it's come away at the bottom, so at speed that may separate and probably cause a huge vibration.
Yeah, it usually does. Had a whole radiator full of grass there. See what happens. Just too much speed, gets off on the outside, rides that out okay, but when you get a frontal shot of this, you'll see it's completely loaded, the radiator. There's what I was talking about, Calvin. You see the piece hanging down already before it goes off. Delaminated. This should
that's probably why he lost the downforce, Dorsey.
Yeah.
That probably came adrift, and then he didn't have the front downforce going through that high-speed kink. It may not have been Tim Sugden's problem there in terms of driving.
Did a good job of, just keeping that situation under control.
Yeah.
Front wheels locked, then releases. Locked and then released. Tim Sugden is enormously experienced in these cars. He would have done everything he possibly could to control that. So Sugden has a 2-lap buffer over Dominic Farnbacher. So if the Paul Miller Racing boys can service this quickly, assess the damage and service it and get it sent, all may not be lost.
We stopped that from being a lot worse than it could be. It could have gotten much worse, especially at that part of the racetrack, because you are really hauling through there.
The British driver brings it to a stop.
Look at that, it's completely come adrift, Dorsey. That is not going to be an easy fix by any stretch.
Guys, you can see how messy the car is right now. They are going to do a driver change. Tim Sugden out. Brian Sellers is climbing behind the wheel. Right now, the crew's going ahead and doing the regular service. They're doing the Sunoco fuel, the new set of Continental tires. They're also cleaning the car up so that when they do have the time to fix this, they have everything clean. They do have the helicopter tape or racer's tape out right now. It looks like they might try and tape it up, but right now they're actually just, looks like they might try and pull it off. No tape coming over the wall right now. They are going to try and do this repair. As you mentioned, they have a little bit of a lead, but not a lot of a lead. So they are going to try and get this car back out on track as quickly as possible.
Oh, this is the 66 in the pit lane. Listen closely.
Sounds horrible, but then they
Sounds
always
like-
do sound pretty horrible when they're going slowly.
Can tell, I don't think the engine is running. Oh, it is, but he hasn't got a gear.
It's not connected. Yeah, the engine's running, but it ain't.
He's got a gearbox full of neutrals, it sounds like.
it, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. Some ups and downs for the TRG outfit. 5 cars, and boy, have they told a story in the last 24 hours. Now, there's the 66 car. We saw it in the pit lane. It's no longer there. Justin Bell can update us.
Yeah, obviously, suddenly it came over the radio from Dominic that he had lost sort of some form of drive, and when they came in at first, they had drive shafts on the pit wall, and it does appear that it could be the diff. And as you know, it's very hard to diagnose that with the car static in the pits, so the call was made to take it back to the garage. I'm going to head over there. Obviously, TRG have this armada of cars here and a lot of depth of talent and technical resources, but God, this race is so tough. Just when you think the end is in near, they go and move the goalpost another few miles away. So I'll give you an update when I know what's going on.
All right, thank you, Justin. Meanwhile, the team car, the 67, currently in the hands of Spencer Pompelli from Mason Neck, Virginia, is running at the head of the GT class by 2 laps.
Brian Sellers in the 48 car, who had that very unfortunate incident. The kink, the splitter had split right down the middle in the 48 car, and as you can see, it's not anything like as big as it should be. He got to the kink. Obviously, there was a lack of downforce. He slid off the road, went through the grass, and they came back and repaired it. I thought they'd have a new nose, quite frankly, but they didn't. And they had to take most of the splitter off, so he's obviously losing some effectiveness with that front end, because there was a lot of undertray that went with it, and that's a very important part of the front end of these Porsches to help you with the downforce, and they've lost that. But he's still cranking out 53.1. Spencer just did a 52.5, so it's going to be hard for the 48 car to really go hard enough to try and pull back those 2 laps.
The splitter's a little like an aero. Now Joey Hand moves up to second spot.
And he has probably got...
What's all the smoke? What's all the smoke?
Whoa.
Oh, the 60.
Oh, no.
He's moving quickly, so I suspect
Is that a flat tire?
Is it a tire again?
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Boy, he's going way too fast. Mark.
Wow.
Goosen should know better than that.
I thought maybe he'd blown up because he was going so quickly.
That's going to come apart big time.
Just exiting the chicane.
Well, this may be the caution that the 9 car wants if it should come apart.
Let's begin with what happened to Scott Pruitt moments ago as he caught up with Ricardo Zonta and bang down in the west hairpin. That was a big hit, but does not appear to have affected Scott's car from on board.
It doesn't seem to have done. So he gets there first and he turns in. He perhaps could have given Zonta a bit more room, but on the other hand, Zonta should have just left him a bit more room.
Well, that's the important point. Zonta was a lap down. Now, just moments later, watch the 90 into the chicane with the race leader right behind him.
Right in front of the 3 leaders. He got pushed out there by that GT car. Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
On board with Dixon.
Here comes the 90 down to that chicane. The GT car doesn't see him coming, moves right over on him.
Woo! That's Sasha Maassen, longtime Porsche factory driver, now an independent. Not what you want when you're in the closing stages of the Rolex 24 and you have got 4 world-class drivers and teams battling.
That's one of those judgment calls there. Sasha Maassen went for the corner underneath the Porsche or underneath the GT car. And of course that GT car really couldn't give him much more room, couldn't go very wide because the road is so covered in mud and guns down there.
For 2011 and after a fiery start, the Flying Lizards come to a fiery end. The pole sitter Jörg Bergmeister, there's the lanky German, a former Series Daytona prototype champion. He has won this race in class and overall. However, they will not be going to the podium today.
Well, there's damage to the back of the car. It's been there for a long time, but something lets go, Dorsey. You can see the fire, and Jörg pulled it off near one of the fire stations. They're aware of those. The Chief Steward, Mark Graffoff, the race director, gives the drivers all of that information during the driver's briefing, but still, this thing burns for a while.
Yeah, it's an oil fire, and Jörg was really, really smart not to stop on the grass. You see that right behind him. Made it over to the asphalt, parked there. Unfortunately, these fire guys don't really know that it's burning, and they're looking at the wrong area of the car. The right front of the engine's what's on fire. There's oil all over up there. These guys are just not getting it quite right.
They will sort this out, and the 2011 Rolex 24 comes to a close for Jörg Bergmeister, Patrick Long, Seth Nyman and Johannes van Overbeek. But they have given us something to remember, that's for sure, and we see another double yellow, a full course yellow fly here at Daytona with an hour and a half, just over an hour and a half remaining.
22nd full course caution of this 2011 24-hour so far.
I think with the fuel situation, everyone was on for just one more stop. So by stopping now with an hour and a half left, they wouldn't be able to finish it off. It wouldn't be their final pit stop. But if you got poor track position, you may decide to do that. So now the load goes on those engineers in making the right call here under yellow.
Chip Ganassi, he's been in this position many times before. For the past 2 years, he's seen his men and cars finish runner-up. He does not want that situation yet again. And we can't underscore enough what the past 12 months has been for that man and his organization. Here's the overall, and keep in mind that the time checks on the right-hand side of that graphic were before the yellow flew. That will change, but Dixon is in command. Joao Barbosa, the defending race winner for Action Express, is in second. Martin Brundle, Mark Blundell, Mark Patterson and Zach Brown. That's one of the stories of this year's race.
It really is. It's sensational. Pruitt is really closing in on those leaders, about 16 seconds behind now. Plenty of time left, about 50 laps left in this race, and he's been clawing them in by about half a second to 1 second a lap. Watch out for the number 10 car. That car is flying. It's now only 1 lap behind. If these leaders should choose to pit, they may get back on the lead lap. That may be a decision that Ganassi takes to keep Scott Dixon out there, to not allow the 10 car back onto that lead lap.
And that would be putting the fate in their hands, really, wouldn't it? I mean, basically, if they don't pit, then there's no way they're going to get the lap back. If they make that pit stop, then that gives the 10 equal ground to run it for the win.
So we're still under yellow, and while we're away, there was a very important pit stop that was made. Let's show you what went down. Scott Pruitt in the 01 Ganassi squad decided to pit. So Chris highlighted that tug of war going on between Tim Keen and Scott Pruitt. They obviously decided to change their minds.
And I think it's a good call because now Scotty's topped up with fuel. It means he's got a 10-lap bigger fuel window to make that next stop on. He's got fresh rubber. The only thing is he's going to be a bit further back in the DP field, so he's got to cut through that traffic. Remember, the GT cars move to the side to allow all the DPs together. I like the call.
It also does two other things. It makes both of the Ganassi cars, one of the others got a capability of winning, and it traps the 10 car. Since the 02 did not pit, it traps him a lap down, which would be a potent
And remember,
car.
if we get a yellow flag, Dorsey, where everyone's in their window to get to the finish, his pit stop will be much shorter because he doesn't have to fill in the bigger hole in the tank.
A full 10 seconds shorter in theory. So that's a win-win. I mean, he's got 2 bullets in the gun, and both of them are capable.
Scott Dixon, Joao Barbosa, Martin Brundle on screen right there.
This should be a war, boys.
It's going to be great.
Tell you.
This is going to be great. Well, just think about it. A year ago, you know, we've had multi-car races to the line, 4 cars, as many as 4 cars in the DP era racing to the finish in this event. Last year, it was just a source of frustration. Action Express had so much of a lead on Ganassi. Ganassi couldn't do anything about it. The Action Express boys were laughing all the way to victory lane, and essentially the same group of people won this race back-to-back years. They're vying for 3 in a row. Yes, it was Brumos 2 years ago, Action Express last year, and Action Express vying for another win in 2011. Set to get back up to full speed. Scott Dixon heads this field, but he'll have a rear view mirror full of Joao Barbosa, and Martin Brundle is in that top 3 as well.
Top 3 start to duke it out, and it's up to Pruitt to try and get through that next gaggle of cars that are lap or laps down. On board with Pruitt, trying to go on the outside of the 90. He needs to be aggressive, but he has to be a little bit patient, Dorsey. He has time on his side.
He does, but he's got to be aggressive because the other guy's going to squirt away if he doesn't. The 60 to his right, nowhere to go. He's got a roadblock. Oh, and they almost touched.
Oz Negri collides with EJ Vizo, IndyCar driver. Pruitt saying, come on, boys, make life easy for me. Give me a passage through here. Another point of contact there. Vizo needs to be careful.
So does Pruitt, because if the 2 of those get tangled together, he's got nowhere to go.
Scotty is the master. He's got so much experience. He knows how to get the job done. He knows how aggressive to be and not damage the race car.
So 1 out of the way. That's 1 on a long list.
Potentially right now you can be the most aggressive. You got everything brand new. The car's fresh. And usually you can pounce on people. But these guys are so good and the car's so equal.
Well, he had one of the fastest cars. I'd have to say the 10 car of the cars that are running may have a slight edge in speed, but he's certainly got equal fast car to the leaders right now, so he just needs to execute. Stay patient. Stay in touch with Timmy Keen, the man on your box who you've worked so hard and won so many championships with, just to walk you and talk you through this race.
Here's Dixon in the Target Telmex BMW Riley. His teammates won Pablo Montoya, Dario Franchitti, and Jamie McMurray. It's been quite the foursome, and they've done an outstanding job. Joao Barbosa, he and his good mate Terry Borchella, his permanent teammate Terry Borchella, Max Pappas and Christian Fittipaldi, and Brundle's got a run on Barbosa. Trouble for the 53 TRG machine.
Simple spin so far right there in the bus stop like we've been seeing so often.
Joe Castellano turns it round, no harm done, and will be able to get going again. Brundle feels he has a real chance here on Barbosa.
He really does. That 23 car is hooked up. You see Barbosa there run a little wide. There's no grid there on the exit of turn 1. If you run wide through that corner, you really struggle to get the power down, and that will then hurt your exit speed and the shoot that you have to the next corner.
Particularly now after so many miles of racing, so much debris out there. Here comes Pruitt.
He got by the 60 of Oz Negri. Oz is back in 10th position and multiple laps down. We ride with Pruitt again.
Easy flat that time through there.
Car's going to be feeling good. These fresh tires will now start to come in. These Continental tires come in really, really quickly. It's something that the drivers really love. Angelelli's not going to want to let Pruitt get to the head of this field and score maximum points here today.
On the other hand, though, Angelelli, by his own admission, admires Pruitt. He says he is one of the best. He is the guy to beat. He has a lot of respect for that man.
Never really see these two guys get into it. They race each other hard, but they never really get into it. Oh, and that's Martin Brundle who's been pushed wide. And Pruitt grabs a position back, so Pruitt moves back up into 3. Good work from Martin there, not to blow the bus stop chicane, was able to get it back on track. I think he was just caught unawares there by Angelelli on the inside.
Probably his first taste of Max the Axe. You know he's going to come through. He's a demon on the brakes. Really nothing to lose. Remember, he needs to get his way up that lead lap, then maybe catch a yellow. He could be back in the mix for a win today.
Talk us through, Dawes.
And look here, we're going up into the brake zone. You see that Max to the inside. Martin just gets cut off. And then he did the right thing right there. Instead of turning down in there where he probably would have started into a spin, he just stayed straight, slowed the car, and then made the corner. I think he was caught totally unawares by Max's deep braking maneuvers.
So the difference between Angelelli and where our overall race leader is not too great a distance. If Angelelli, with Pruitt pushing him, can catch Joao Barbosa and Scott Dixon, he is in a position to grab that lap back and join the lead lap runners.
Maybe you can push Max up through there, you know.
Yeah. The 01's going to move first. Pruitt is in.
Timmy Keene on the radio saying pit now, now, now. Pruitt dives to pit road. Empty pit road in front of him. Should have an easy shot at this. 4 Continental tires, and as you guys said, it'll be a shorter fill of that Sunoco fuel right now. Tires going on. Right side. Rear's on. Crew going to work. It needs to be fast, but it needs to be methodical. No mistakes. Now back to the front tires. 4 Continentals. Pruitt will have a fresh car underneath him. The fuel is in. Pruitt away. Chris.
Martin Brundle in the 23 car also hits pit lane. The team going to do fuel and tires. This is going to be a little bit longer stop because it's been quite a bit longer since this team has been to pit lane. Scott Pruitt already down and away, going down pit lane. This team dumping their tires, getting ready to fill the fuel. Got to make sure they get every drop in there, and he's down and away.
Yeah, they need every drop, Chris. This is going to be a full fuel run with no cautions, and they need the last gas of fuel there. They couldn't afford to let him go any earlier.
And you saw that car creeping forward. The clutch was getting hot from him revving the engine. It was about to leave whether he wanted to or not.
Yeah, Martin had it in gear, and that starts to creep. Everything's warm at this stage of the race.
Did you see Angelelli make a move on Barbosa down into 1? He couldn't quite execute it. He feels he's got a chance to get that lap back, but time is running out.
So is fuel.
If anyone flinches here, it's going to be Barbosa first, I think, Dawes. He's got a couple more laps on this run compared to the other 2 cars he's in the mix with.
You have to assume they'll be coming. I mean, the cards have been dealt.
I think he may be able to go 1 more for Barbosa. Dixon's probably got 3 more he can go, at least.
Keep an eye on the 9. Here he comes.
Yep.
9 is in, Brian.
Barbosa to pit road. Crew is set up, and he'll have to continue to struggle with the lack of aerodynamics on the right rear of this Action Express entry. Right now, the crew going to work. Fuel going in. It's going to take longer for fuel. Tires going on as well, so it's going to be a little longer stop than Scott Pruitt had, and then Barbosa's going to be back out. We talk about the lack of downforce on the right rear of this car, and it's really been what's been holding them back. No one will ever know if that has kept them from the Rolex watch or not. Joao Barbosa has won twice here at the Rolex 24, once in class, once overall. He wants to make it 3.
Fuel, the agonizing wait for the fuel. Now he's free. Keep in mind what's on the line for these boys. 3 consecutive wins for Porsche. Here comes Pruitt.
Remember, 45 miles an hour, you have to drive down pit lane, then that very tight pit exit. Pruitt's going to leapfrog around the 9 for position. Now for the 02 car, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you come into pit lane now, it's going to be a longer fuel fill. If you wait and catch a caution, pit lane is closed, you're going to lose the lead anyway. Tough decision for Mike Hull. I don't think they can keep the lead whatever they do.
This is all going the way of the 01. All going the way of the 01. On that previous stop, Timmy Keene was so optimistic. He said, this is the stop that's going to win us the race. Just you watch. Well, we are. We'll see. But so far, so good for the 01.
Dixon is on his 30th lap. We've seen him stretch it at about 33, so they can still wait. What will Mike Hull do?
You can't control fate. You can't change what's going to happen. That's one thing about it. But he's got 1 more lap. He's going to run around 1 more time.
So the 02 is in. Angelelli goes by Dixon to get back on the lead lap for now.
Dixon slides to the marks. Doesn't worry about flat spotting tires. He'll have 4 new Continentals that go on. Fuel going in as well. Dixon obviously staying behind the wheel. Mike Hull talking to him calmly on the radio. Nobody has said anything about a timed fill here, as you guys were talking about. So right now the 02 sitting still. Tires are just about done. Hull saying we're going to be waiting. Fuel still going in. Waiting. They pull a tear off. Scott Dixon's going to have the freshest car he's had since the drop of the green to see if he can claim yet another Rolex. And Dixon off the mark.
This is going to be close. Pruitt's in NASCAR 3, NASCAR 4. He's coming into the tri-oval. Dixon, this 45-mile-an-hour speed limit will be agonizing. The 01's going to do it easily.
He's going to do it. There was nothing they could do. That call that Timmy Keane made by bringing Pruitt in under that caution made the difference. 01 back to the front.
Just think about that time not that long ago when Joey Hand, after the pit lane violation, was 52 seconds down on this car here, and through hard driving, halved that, did better than halve that gap and that deficit to come back into pit lane right behind the 02.
Looks like Dixon gets out ahead of the 9 car. We have a Ganassi 1-2 on the racetrack in the final hour of this race.
TRG 67, the Sargent and Lundy entry with Andy Lally behind the wheel. It's the class-leading car with still a 2-lap advantage over Bryce Miller in the 48 Marquis Jet Porsche. And then Bryce has a comfortable margin, a 2-lap margin over Charles Espinlaub in the Dempsey Racing Mazda as well. So it's all status quo in GT. No one under immediate threat for their positions so long as things remain as is for the next 42 minutes.
Here we see the call. Horst Farnbacher is basically crewing and engineering this car, and he's got a fresh tires on every stop. He didn't want to take any chances. Looks like the 48 have done fuel only. They may get one of those laps back. Jamie, what do you see down there?
Well, there's a little bit of Porsche teamwork going on pit lane. Muehlner Motorsports, professional team coming over for their first Rolex race in the States. They're pitted in front of TRG. Because TRG doesn't have a clutch and they're going to have to push the car forward, they shifted their entire crew to do service on the number 18 car just so that they didn't get in the way. But now the number 67 out and underway with 4 fresh tires and a fuel.
Well, you need those favors. I mean, teams have to work together. They could be in a similar position, and I'm sure Kevin and the TRG group would repay that favor. So right now, one of the most experienced guys in these cars has got fresh tires, a full fuel load, and he's got 41 minutes left on the clock to try and grab another Rolex. He's got quite a collection, Dorsey.
Yeah, he does that. Jamie McMurray having a good conversation, smiling a lot there with team owner Chip Ganassi. Things looking good for now, but like we always say, there's another 40 minutes left.
You remember last year, in amongst the slew of awards that Chip Ganassi got, he got his own phrase named after him, achieving the Chipple, which was a triple win for Chip in one weekend with Grand Am, IndyCar and NASCAR Sprint Cup. So
that is an amazing accomplishment, there's no question.
3 different venues, 3 different series on the one weekend. Scott Dixon cannot relax because Joao Barbosa is only about 1.5 seconds behind the Kiwi. He dropped a little bit more. There's the gap right there because he got tangled in GT traffic coming through 1, 2 and on the way up to the International Horseshoe. So he's got to try and reduce that deficit once again. Former F1 star Martin Brundle and former winner of this race is in, Martin Brundle is in 4th. Max Angelelli still in 5th. Zonta 6th. Armand Dinger 7th. Christophe Bouchou 8th. Darren Law 9th. And John Pugh is 10th. That's how it stands overall and in Daytona prototype. In GT, it's still Andy Lally, Bryce Miller, Joe Foster, unchanged. That podium position as we ride with the TRG machine right now.
There you see Max Pappas just praying that he can get some kind of break here. Beside him, Ian Watt, the engineer, and I think this team is really going to make a statement this year, turn things around. They're restructured, a 2-car effort. Max has seen victory lane here before. I'd like to say it again.
Was he praying or sleeping?
Both.
Ian Watt, the engineer, the lead engineer for Action Express, was to his left. For his teammate and regular season-long team.
And I think a lot of the competitors were hoping that this new 2011 Porsche may have some teething problems, including this team who are running the older version, but boy, oh boy, they've done a great job here. The 48 car looking for a very strong podium finish. Of course, Bryce Miller, who's behind the wheel right now, his father won here back in 1984.
Talking with the boys, Bryce himself, he said, I'm not sure if we'll do too many more Grand Am races this year, but it depends on how we do at the 24. Well, maybe they might change their mind now because they'll carry second place points into Homestead Miami Speedway. It might spur them on.
They cannot feel bad about the effort they put in here this weekend. That has been a great car, and that 2011 Porsche you're talking about proved to be a very, very nice race car.
There's been plenty of sunshine here at Daytona International Speedway, and the Dempsey Racing Mazda team have been sharing it, that's for sure. The sun's shining on them. Joe Foster, Patrick Dempsey, Tom Long, who had a very anxious moment in his first drive for the team earlier, where he spun and then the engine wouldn't fire again, and Charles Espinlaub have done a very, very good job also a new car for this fresh racing season, and they're headed potentially in 11 minutes time for their very first podium at the Rolex 24.
Well, these GT cars, when you look at them compared to the Daytona prototypes, have been through a war. I mean, these guys are beaten and battered all the way through the field.
We've seen a lot of drivetrain, a lot of clutch issues, and I think most of that is from the cars beating on each other, because the racetrack is certainly much smoother, and we expected a lot less durability issues with these race cars over the course of the 24-hour race. But it has been a war zone out there from the very early hours and never ceased throughout the course of this event.
Super comeback for Magnus Racing. Craig Stanton, John Potter, Richard Leitz and Marco Holzer.
Another 2011 Porsche. They've been strong all day and night.
Craig Stanton started in dynamic fashion. He was one of the early race leaders, in fact, but yeah, they have had their fair share of troubles, but to come back to fourth. And here is the famous 59 for Brumos Porsche. There'll be a bunch of people just up the road in Jacksonville, Florida, celebrating seeing this car on the screen. They won't be celebrating that it's not in first place where it was at one stage in this race. However, it's great to see Brumos continue in Grand Am, and it's terrific, I know, for a lot of the historians to see it back in the GT class.
It brings back such great memories when you see that red and blue stripe on the white body shell of a Porsche 911, Dorsey.
Yeah, and it had the speed. That was not the problem at all. Just some unfortunate luck took them down the ranks. A car capable of winning, and a lot of fans here would like to have seen that. Now this is what I'm talking about.
Now this car looks like a movie stunt car.
That's a Mad Max car.
This is a Mad Max car for sure. It's the defending winner. It's Speed Source, Sylvain Tremblay, Speed Source engineering team. Dave Haskell and the guys. They've had the two young drivers in it, Adam Christodoulou, John Edwards, along with Jonathan Bomarito and the team boss himself behind the wheel right now. And this is the epitome of never say die. Just keep on going until the very end. And they're holding down 6th place in class right now.
And we were looking at the good side of it.
Yes, right.
Keep in mind, 6th doesn't sound all that flattering, but they're in it for the championship.
Flat tire
run.
right rear here on the 90.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it never being over. If he stops in the wrong part of the racetrack, we got just under 9 minutes to go. This is not what Scott Pruitt wants to see. His cars dawdling around the speedway and potentially stopping and creating a yellow. So
you know, that tire blows off and takes the rear body work and lands middle of the track, and there it goes.
Well, again, just those little shards of carbon fiber that can be left around the racetrack and catch anyone out. So when you have a tire go like that and you're trying to make your way back to the pit lane, great to see JC France back in competition. Those guys have had a great run here today.
And
there's no body work. Just like I said. Now where is it?
Where did it land?
I think that's coming off the infield, coming onto the back stretch.
Race control arc talking about a yellow. 8 minutes, 12 seconds to go.
Everywhere.
This is a full course coming up for sure.
Yep, it is out. Timmy Keene, look at him.
All right, we have all of a sudden got a race on our hands. From a comfortable 10-second margin, and they're smiling at Action Express because this gives Joao Barbosa one more chance. You won't see anything desperate between the Ganassi teammates. However, Barbosa is in the hunt. Martin Brundle is there, and it all of a sudden gives the 10 another chance.
Yeah, it really does. But this bodywork, I mean, this is a mess. He is spreading bodywork all around this racetrack, so this is going to take a lot of time to clean up.
It's exactly what I was talking about. I thought would probably happen, and watch what happens when they delaminate.
Look at that. Bomb. There goes the hood off the engine. Now, remember, when we're within 20 minutes of the end of the race, they will call a short caution, potentially 2 laps, but I think this cleanup is going to take longer than that 2 laps. So, hate to see this one end under yellow, but those boys, the safety crews, are going to have to go to work quickly to see any more green flag action here today.
Well, Action Express were putting the thumbs up and crossing their fingers, hoping for it to go back green. This man here is hoping it stays yellow.
For Scott Pruitt, the leader, and the rest of the field for that matter, they've got to thread their way through this carnage out there. The last thing that they want to do is pick up a puncher. Scott has brought it down to a crawl. He's trying to eat up that clock.
Yeah, he is.
It's like a football coach trying to eat up the clock when they have the lead. Christian Fittipaldi, he's fired up. Taddy there, Tatiana, Pappas, Max's wife.
Pace car driver will be saying, I can't pick up the leader, he's going too slow. That's what I figured they'd do. They're going to bring the jet dryer out, I think. And, you know, this is up on the banking. Oh, look at this.
Sasha Masson just trying to get the Spirit of Daytona Coyote back home.
Taking the suspension off of the thing.
That's a Gilles Villeneuve moment there. I mean, that thing is rooted.
And
he took it all off, Calvin. Look at that.
Finally made it back to pit road.
Just turn left. Don't even bother with that.
What a tough day for the local team that had such high hopes after qualifying 6th and ran strong, ran up front very early on.
Look at that. It's taken the half shaft, broken it. Kind of wonder if one of those things didn't break first and cause that. I don't know.
More on the race leader. Here's Chris.
Lee, right now I'm listening to radio traffic between Tim Keen and Scott Pruitt, and Scott thinks that he might have something wrong with one of the front tires. I think he said it right front. Tim Keen's telling him to go slow, slow, slow. Slow it down to 60 miles an hour, he's telling him. But Pruitt's trying to figure out, is there something truly wrong with the race car, or is he just getting a lot of pickup on the tires?
Yeah, well, that can certainly be an issue. A lot of drivers, when they suddenly start to roll slowly around the racetrack, you'll get those marbles. We discussed it earlier in the race. On the hot race tire, it will just pick it up and snowball literally around. It's like packing a snowball around the tire. It gets out of balance. It feels wrong. But remember last year, after Lime Rock, where this car got taken out, this 01 car could have potentially won every race of the championship season. In the late going at New Jersey, Scott Pruitt picked up a slow puncher in the late go and allowed the 99 to nip by and take victory away. So these boys have seen it sneak away from them in the end, but it'd be so cruel here today.
I don't see any limited ride height or reduced ride height on the right front. I think he's okay. I think he's feeling a lot of rubber buildup, and the sidewall of the tire doesn't look like it's, you know, going down any other.
When they drove that car home at New Jersey, they had 3 pounds left in that tire. 3 pounds worth, that's all.
I mean, there's debris all over the place out there from the 90. This is what it looks like. He'll try to find a way through, but watch all this on the road. See if he hits anything really big. It's off the head.
Hard to say. Could have done. Looked like he's trying to thread the needle there, left and right. There was debris, and it slowed down. He could see the carnage, but sometimes there's nowhere to go.
Time is running out. 4 minutes left.
Lights out?
Lights are out.
Oh boy. Hold on to your hats, boys.
So what's the split? How far back is the Action Express car? Where is Scott Dixon in second place? How uncomfortable will this be for Scott Pruitt?
One to go.
Look at the nerves from Max Pappas in the Action Express camp. They want one more shot at Timmy Keen's men.
Question is going to be, Ganassi currently run 1-2. They're going to feel some heat from Joao Barbosa on the 0-2. What are they thinking down there, Chris?
Well, lots of conversation between Tim and Scott. Scott is telling you that this track is just a mess. Are you guys surprised that we're going to go back to green here?
No, not really. That's what they should do.
Yeah.
We're just trying to take our time and not cut a tire. We want to be able to see the track. You know, we don't want to get ourselves in trouble. We're 4 minutes away from a win.
It seemed like Scott was concerned about one of the front tires. Was that just pickup?
Yeah, just pick up. Like I said, there's just carbon everywhere. So I mean, we're just concerned about cutting a tire. We want to win. We haven't got it won yet. We still got to restart. It'll be fun.
Are you going to get any help from the 0-2, or are they going to challenge you guys?
No, Chip actually come over about 20 minutes ago, and he said, you know, if we ever get a yellow, he said, there is no team orders. He said, just don't take each other out. So I think we got a couple cars between us, so I think we're...
Yeah, there's a comfortable margin there.
Well, guys, 24 hours of racing. It's going to come down to a couple lap sprint.
Isn't it fantastic? We're on board with Dixon. You can see the cars in between he and Pruitt up behind the 1M, the BMW Coupe.
It's going to be a one-lap sprint after 24 hours.
And the Action Express car in touch with Scott Dixon. Can they leapfrog one more position? The defending race winners in that number 9 Action Express Porsche, can they get as high as second?
Key is going to be, we're going to see a green flag and a white, meaning 1 lap to go. Will they let them run 2? Clock is running down. Looking at the clock, I think there's going to be just 1 lap to go. So that will certainly help Scott Pruitt out. A couple of cars in between he and that man. Scott Dixon, the 9 car ever, is right on his tail. Brundle's there as well. Second, third, and fourth are line astern on this restart.
And we've just got word from race control. It will be green-white. It will be green-white.
I think Pruitt's okay, but second place is going to be a bloody war.
Get ready for it. For those in the 01 camp, this is tense stuff. How would you like to be that man there, Scott Dixon, when he's got Joao Barbosa and Martin Brundle wanting a shot to elevate their positions? For Brundle to get on the podium, perhaps. This is it. The final run, the final minute, the final lap in the 2011 Rolex 24 at Daytona.
Does Pruitt have a healthy car when he hits the brakes down here for turn 1? Does he have air that he needs? Tire pressure in the race car. Yes, he does. Gets it turned in. Oh, look at this. Brundle runs wide. Pushing the effort there around the outside.
You ride with Scott Dixon. Where is Joao Barbosa? How close is he? There's the big number 9 into the international horseshoe now. He's not close enough. He locks it up.
Angelelli's a lap down right in front of these guys. This is the battle for position. Second and third, right on screen. Dixon versus Barbosa.
Barbosa got a little push right there. The good spot to do it's going to be up the next 2 corners right here.
Pruitt looks good. His car looks healthy. He's got speed. Dixon fighting the wheel, trying to get on the power. Can Barbosa look to the inside? Dixon defends.
After those 2 years of frustration, Ganassi is looking to relieve that pain by getting the 1-2, but the Portuguese driver's not done. Here comes Joao. Dixon comes down low and blocks that move.
Jumps on the power early, tries to get to the inside, but Dixon slingshots off the corner. He has a car length on him. As now Barbosa will get the draft down the backstretch.
Here's race leader Scott Pruitt. He's comfortable, Dorse.
Side by side. This is where it's going to be right now. Draw to the outside. He might try to tuck to the inside, not quite close enough.
He's going to drive Scott in there as hard as he possibly can.
Dixon protected to the inside. He's got a good run. He should be able to hold him.
Through up onto NASCAR 3. How about it? We call him the man. We call him the master. Scott Pruitt is going to drive this 01 Telmex Chip Ganassi BMW Riley to another victory. It's going to be 4 for the most prolific driving duo, and the man in Grand Am, Scott Pruitt, takes the win. It's a Ganassi 1-2. And for young Graham Rahal, he wins the Rolex 24 at Daytona 30 years after his famous father Bobby did. How about that? And for GT, TRG will do it again. Kevin Buckler's men in control. Andy Lally and his co-drivers drive to victory lane. Well done, Andy. Well done, TRG. And they do it in their new Porsche. Celebrations at Ganassi. Pruitt becomes a 4-time winner. Rahal gets his first, and so too does Joey Hand with a dynamic drive. And for Memo Rojas, he becomes a multiple Rolex winner. And in a single 12-month period, look at the victories that Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates has grabbed.
What a day. What a day. Perfect execution. That is an unbelievable motor race we just experienced.
To come down to such a gripping finish after 24 hours. That's what Grand Am Racing is all about. And we're going to soak it up. We're going to celebrate when we come back.
Welcome back live to Daytona International Speedway, where we just witnessed another dramatic and close finish at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Let's get down to victory lane and Chris Neville.
Scott Pruitt has pulled the car into victory lane. He's wiping his hat off. It doesn't look like they want to let him out of the car, but the team is already calling this the Chip Slam. It's the Grand Slam of motorsports, getting the Daytona 500, the Indy 500, the Brickyard 400, and the Rolex 24, all within 12 months. And Scott Pruitt being held in the car here. Scott, did you ever think that this was going to come down to a one-lap sprint?
This was unbelievable. I mean, this is, I can't say enough for the Ganassi guys. Telmex, all, you know, Carlos, everybody's here, Dynan, BMW. It was incredible. I mean, our car ran and ran and ran. It ran great. It was a superb job. Hi to my family at home. This is just, it's just awesome. I mean, truly awesome. And to have a 1-2 finish like this is just incredible.
You think about the wins that you had just a couple years ago and then coming up second the past 2 years, the emotions of dealing with that. Does this finally feel like you got the monkey off your back?
It does. I mean, being runner-up, and I just can't say enough about my Ganassi guys. I mean, you think about this 01 car has finished every lap the last 5 years. That's just phenomenal, and won at 3.
Well, as soon as his teammates get down here, we'll talk to them too.
All right, thank you, Chris. What an amazing thing this is. David, you and I can recall when it would be a big deal if we had the top two cars within a lap of one another. Now in recent years, it seems they're constantly banging on each other right to the checkered flag after 24 hours.
Absolutely. I've never seen a finish like that since the 1969 Le Mans, when Jackie Ickx won by just a few seconds from Hans Hermann.
Well, back in 1979, Hurley Haywood, Danny Ungais, and Ted Field set the record for largest margin of victory in this race, 49 laps. Imagine how you would keep some drama in that, but that's just not the way it is at the Rolex 24 anymore. Now let's go to Jamie Howe.
An elated TRG team. Andy Lally, you brought the car across the checkered flags. It was a tough struggle, though, there at the end. How'd you do it?
We, we've never rubber banded like this throughout a race before. We went 2 down, 2 up, 1 down, just back and forth. But it all comes down to the reliability and the strength of cars that TRG Motorsports builds. My teammates, which have done awesome, Kevin Buckler, Horst, all these guys, Gary, the whole crew. This is a 24-hour race and it's a team effort. And I had wonderful teammates, Brendan, Steve, Wolfie, and of course my buddy Spence here. To do this, and we just kept it together. We had great eyes up in the sky and great strategy and wonderful cars again, and Porsche gave us a really strong piece here to win another Daytona 24, and that's awesome.
Spencer, we know you're looking forward to getting another Rolex because your last one needs to be serviced now. What does this one mean to you?
5 years ago, it was 5 years, and it needs to get serviced after 5, so I was wondering what I was going to do when I sent it over there. So this is great. You know, we were probably about a second from deciding to take this car back to the garage and do a major change to fix the clutch, and somehow we decided not to, and I just can't imagine how we ended up here. This is such a great effort by so many good people. So many people we got to thank. The TRG guys were awesome. This car was awesome. These co-drivers, man, I tell you, this is a great day.
Wolf, I know you're excited being paired from Porsche with the TRG team for the weekend. How impressed were you with this result?
Yeah, for sure. Very impressed. Also my second win, and I think also my first watch needs also a rebuild. And Andy, Spencer, Steve, and Brandon did an awesome job. TRG, the whole team, unbelievable. Such a great day.
Steve, you're the one who bought this car when the 2011 Porsche became available. You took it to TRG. You said, I want to run this race with these guys. Is this what you imagined?
I'm living in such a different world right now. Last April, I was driving PCA at Road Atlanta, and these guys brought me in and let me do a couple pro races with them last year. And we just won the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona. It is incredible. Kevin and his crew, my co-drivers, all these guys, Brendan and Wolfie and my buddy Spence over here and Andy, they're just amazing. And the crew behind all this, the guys that working on this car, what a team, man. This is an incredible position to be in. I'm speechless.
Brendan Vaughn, of course, the other driver behind the wheel of the car. Tremendous effort, but we've got to head back to Victory Circle with Chris Neville.
Well, they were the fastest drivers on the racetrack, but the slowest drivers to victory lane. Finally, Joey Hand, Graham Rahal, and Memo Rojas make their way down here. Joey, let's have a word with you first. Tell me about the emotions. I mean, you've just been through a roller coaster today. You fought to get this car back in the lead, then you got the penalty, you got knocked back, and then you finally get to watch it come up front, and then that caution.
Yeah, I know, it was crazy. This was way worse watching right now. All I gotta say is it was just a pleasure to be on this program. I thank everybody out there that they know who they are that said you should put Joey in this car, put Joey in this car. Thank you, everybody. Thanks Chicane Racing, Target, Telmex, BMW Power. It's always great to drive these BMWs. It's just a great day for me. I don't even know what to say. I wish my wife and my kids were here, but I got my dad here. He hasn't been here for a long time, and to a race in a long time, and he came to this one, so I guess I'm going to have to take him some more.
Memo, last year it was second place, but you won the championship. How does this measure up? Is the championship better, or are you just so happy to win this race again?
I mean, this race is a championship. I mean, it's so important, so big, and we're just so happy to be here. We've been so close the last couple of years. I mean, as you could see, this was a 24-hour sprint race. We were racing 24 hours, and just to be here out of so many good teams and drivers, it's amazing.
And Graham Rahal, new to the Ganassi IndyCar program and also new to their Daytona prototype program. Graham, your dad won this race 30 years ago. Now you get to share this experience with him.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's great to be here. I have Joey, Memo, and Scott. You know, I think definitely the one thing is we knew we had a great driver lineup, and having Chip, the team's just, this shows exactly why these guys win so many races. I mean, we can change gear stacks, do this, that, the other, and we still come out with a 1-2. It's just tremendous.
Chip, you finally made your way down here too. The past 2 years you were just sitting on the edge of that pit box and it just didn't happen. Does it finally feel good to be back here?
I'll tell you, Chris, you know, we finished second this year too. So it's good. You know, we finished first 3 years in a row, second 3 years in a row, and now we got a win here today too, though. It's really special for the team. I couldn't be happier for Telmex, for Target, for BMW, everybody that's come together. But, you know, the team is really what it's all about, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Well, they were the favorite coming in, and they produced.
No question about it. And so we have a new phrase that goes into the racing lexicon, the Chip Slam. Daytona 500, Indy 500, Brickyard 400, and Rolex 24 Hours. 4 victories in succession at 2 legendary racetracks, Indianapolis and Daytona. What do you do to follow up? Back at Daytona, here's a look at the top 10 finishers in the Daytona prototype and overall class. Chip Ganassi 1-2, then a great effort by last year's winners from Action Express, Martin Brundle, Mark Blundell in their return to motorsports with Michael Shank Racing, a finish occupying 4th place. Nearly every one of these cars in the top 10 in Daytona prototype had a share of the lead at some point. Now let's get back down to victory lane. Ryan Till is standing by with our 2nd place finishers.
Now, you guys talked about the strength of the Ganassi organization. Scott Dixon just climbed out of the 0-2. And Scott, you've got a Rolex from here before, but if I had told you 24 hours and 10 minutes ago that with 5 minutes left, 3 minutes left, we'd have a green-white restart in a race like this, would you have ever believed it?
No, definitely not. You know, it's pretty crazy. The thing I couldn't understand is, you know, when I woke up this morning at about 9:30, there was still like 7 cars within, 20 seconds. So, it was a fantastic race. You could just show how the depth of these teams now, the competition level has totally changed from when I first won in 2006. So, fantastic day for Telmex and Target, obviously, to win another Rolex 24 Hour. Unfortunately, it wasn't the 02 car, which is a little bit frustrating, but we're there at the end, and it's nice to finish one for a change.
I know you guys come to win this race. You don't just come to have fun, but how important is it for you, maybe you and Dario, to get together now, Graham Rahal, a part of the Ganassi IndyCar organization, to come and spend a little time together with such a long off season?
Yeah, it's cool. For us, that's definitely true. We finished in October, so to have a bit of a reunion in January before we get going in March, with definitely the limited testing that we have now in IndyCar, it's very tough. So, obviously with Graham as an addition for G2, I guess Ganassi 2 team is also been a lot of fun as well. But it's a totally different kind of car. But it's just more about the morale in the team, and obviously if you can win this race, that's a great way to kick off the season.
And I know it's all about endurance here, and you guys try hard, and obviously you fight hard. Were you a little impressed with how just quite as hard as Juan Pablo was fighting through the night? I know Jamie said, hey, I'm going to put my name on the back of the car so nobody thinks it's JP in it.
Yeah, we need a little LED on the back to put which driver was in the car, because I think there were a few people gunning for us. But you got to love Juan. He gives it his all, and I think sometimes through the night there he gave a little too much and ripped the front of the car off. But it was definitely all action, and it's what I love about being part of this team. Everybody gives it the maximum, and it paid off today. A 1-2. You can't sneeze at that.
No, you can't sneeze at it at all. I think Juan went through 3 noses and an under tray, but they got the good job done. Got on the podium. For the rest of the podium, let's head back to Chris Neville.
Well, there's 8 Rolex wins between these drivers, and Joao Barbosa and Terry Borcheller got to share the victory last year. Joao, you did everything you could to try and move this car further up the podium, but we noticed the damage at the back of the car. We talked about it a lot. Was there anything you could do, or was that just holding you back?
No, it's nothing else I could do. I gave everything in my last lap. In my last stint, I held as much as I could with the Ganassi guys, but they were faster this week, and we were faster than them last year, so next year it's our turn.
Christian, the last time you were here was 2007. You took a few years off. Was it difficult to get back behind the wheel, or did it all just come back like riding a bike?
I think it's more like riding a bike. I've been doing this for a long time, but obviously I had a great help from these guys, from the team. I'm very proud of everyone. Everyone did a great job, and we'll come back next year and see what we can get out of it.
Max, you're kind of the super sub. You get injected into teams everywhere, and usually the result is very good. But you also have to be very happy for the Ganassi guys because you spent so much time there over the years.
I mean, by now I'm really, really happy for us. Congratulations to the Ganassi guys, but this team, Action Express, and all of the guys, I really felt we extracted everything we could today. We all drove excellent. The teamwork was awesome. Preparation was incredible. And today was a proof of a team sport. And, a smaller team can win at Daytona, and today we proved that, against powerhouses like Ganassi, we showed them we were here, and I was really, really proud, really proud of everyone, because it's a big team effort. And let me say hi to Marco, Matteo, my kids. I love you guys. Ciao.
Terry, this time last year you had tears in your eyes. You couldn't believe you had the victory. Today, you at least have a smile on your face.
I do, yeah. It was a great race for us. We didn't win it, but we are on the podium, and we got a great head start for the points for the year. And the guys just did such a great job. The drivers, the team, again, was just a great race for us, so we're real happy.
And JC, it's been a couple years since we've seen you in Rolex competition, but what a way to come back in.
Absolutely, it's great, and what a strong showing by both cars on the team. The 5-car too, they ran into some bad luck, but a great start to hopefully a great season.
Oh, good job, guys. Bob?
All right, thanks very much, Chris. Here's a look at the top 10 in the GT category. And a bit of redemption for Andy Lally. Recall that he put this car on pole, lost it on a post-qualifying technical deficiency, and yet came through and proved that the 67 car with that lineup was the strongest in the field. Good job also by the 48 and 40 crews, particularly the 40, who led through the nighttime hours. Patrick Dempsey came up just short of his first victory as a team owner as well as a driver here at Daytona. Now let's go to Justin Bell.
Down here with second place, the number 48 of Rob Bell, Brian Sellers, Tim Sugden and Bryce Miller. A great run, guys. Bryce, you just got out. You were always there throughout the night. The car's been it was brilliant. But to finish second is still a great result.
Oh, it's such a good feeling. This crew deserves it so much. They've just been working so hard from the shop. We've had a little misfortune this past year, and they've been rebuilding 3 cars in something like 4 months, and this is just so well deserved. Justice is served, and we're a young team. We have a lot to look forward to, so I'm really excited about this year.
And of course, a young team, we got Tim Sugden here. He's young, but he's British. Great run, Tim.
Yeah, we've had a great run. It's fantastic. To be on the podium here is brilliant. My best result by far here, so it's amazing. Yeah, such a good team, such a good set of drivers, and it's just amazing. Fantastic.
Of course, Brian, I saw you just before the finish. You were wound up. I mean, really a great result. As you said, you stayed to the end.
Yeah, I mean, you have to finish this race to get a result at all. And I mean, the last hour was difficult. Everyone kind of worries what's going to happen, but we pulled through. Bryce did a great job in the last stint, and here we are.
And of course, big showing from the British, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's 1 or 2 of us. I'm not sure how many are on the podium, but there's a few here, so always good to be representing back home. And it's the first time I've been here, first time on the podium, so I'll have to come back next year for sure.
I have a feeling these guys will be back next year, Jamie.
I think they will, but another team that's going to be back will be Dempsey Racing. Patrick, when you started Dempsey Racing just a couple years ago, did you think that in 2011 your team would be on the podium at the Rolex 24?
No, I mean, it's pretty emotional, I think. Joe and Charles and Tom did a great job. Kurt, our engineer, and the crew have been working so hard for the last 3 months. And to be here and sort of when we started out racing, this is a dream to be at Daytona and to be on the podium. And we've done that so far, so good.
It's been an emotional weekend, a lot of ups and downs. Joe Foster, when the car went back in the garage just a few hours ago, really, did you see a podium in the team sights?
Well, you never know. Obviously, this is a very long race, and at that point, we were leading when it happened, and so we were definitely frustrated. But in the end, it came back to us. I think we fell to 4th or 5th at that point. But everybody just kept digging and making laps, and it worked out perfectly for us.
Charles, being a part of the Mazda family for the last few years now, what does it mean to Mazda to be on the podium here at the Rolex?
Well, it's huge. I mean, it sets the season for us, and we got a good, strong points towards the championship, and it's just a big family. You can see all the guys around here from Mazda, and more of them are road raced every weekend than any other brand. So there's a reason for that, and it's the family environment and they care about us. So it's great.
Of course, it's a team effort, and Tom Log being the 4th driver in the car this weekend. When you look at your career and you look at where you are right now, where does it go from here?
It's an amazing opportunity Dempsey Racing and Mazda Motorsports has provided me here. The guys are so great. I don't know where it's going to go from here, but I just hope from up. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, and can't thank them enough for the opportunity.
You can hear the emotion in their voice. Congratulations on the podium, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations indeed. A very bright man once said, if you just want to win a race, you run 100 meters. But if you want an experience, you run a marathon. We've just finished a marathon, and as you heard from the participants, they have all had an amazing experience. Well, in a way, I think what we've seen here is sort of a loss of innocence at the Rolex. Used to be If you were a solid enthusiast driver, you could get some friends together, get a car, get in the race, maybe, and have a shot at victory. But what we saw in the last 24 hours was a bravura performance from arguably the top 2 racing teams in America, Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates and the Racers Group. They simply dominated this race, and the reason for that is because they bring the best of everything, the best cars, the best drivers, the best engineering staff, the best of everything. You've got to come loaded for bear to the Rolex 24 if you want to have any shot at victory. It has been an odyssey over the last 24 hours, and we hope you've enjoyed every minute of our 14 hours of live speed coverage. We'll do it again next year, right about this time of year. But for now, for David Hobbs, Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till, Justin Bell, Jamie Howe, Chris Neville, I'm Bob Varsha. On behalf of all of us and our crew of about 100 people at Speed, who have brought you the 49th Rolex 24 at Daytona. Thank you for watching, and so long from Daytona International Speedway.